Chapter 301. Subdue. Fu Fangsheng activated his burst secret technique, his face turned a flushed red, he stomped the ground, bursting it, and charged through the air. This handsome man's eyes turned bloodshot as if possessed by fury, unleashing thunderous punches like a windmill with his arms, consecutively throwing explosive punches. Yet, he couldn't even brush against the enemy's clothing. Wendy, with a giggling smile, strolled leisurely through the barrage of punches, slicing her brother with sharp claws, leaving wounds all over his body, and teased, "You're too weak, not only slow but also lacking focus. When will you achieve focused spirit? Is this all the spirit refining stage of the Fu family's genius amounts to?" While talking, she clapped her hands together like a blade and sent Fu Fangsheng flying, skipping across the ground several times like a stone skimming water. At that moment, Zhao Sanduo rushed over to provide support, firing an AA-12 automatic shotgun. Amidst the roaring blasts, Wendy smiled and turned into a shadowy figure, flickering and dodging all the silver bullets until the gun clicked empty. While loading a new magazine into his weapon, Zhao Sanduo chuckled and said, "Miss, your brother's stagnation in spirit refinement is because of his guilt. He never gave up searching for you for over 20 years. So, what are you now, human or ghost?" "Ah," Zhao family brother Wendy grinned, revealing two sharp fangs, "I am a noble vampire, not a lowly human." No sooner had the words fallen than she appeared in front of Zhao Sanduo in the blink of an eye, her nails shot out 3 inches long, and with a flick of her wrist, she slashed. Luckily, Zhao Sanduo had learned the spirit cat stance and took a step back just in time. A red shadow flashed by, and the shotgun in his hands smoothly split into two, while a smooth gash appeared on his body, from which blood surged out immediately. If not for that step back, he would have been cleaved in two. But that delay allowed Fu Fangsheng to catch his breath and continue the fight fearlessly. His fists danced furiously, creating a tempest of punches that engulfed his opponent. However, Wendy was too fast and effortlessly avoided her brother's thunderous punches, still wearing a playful, cheery smile on her face. Fu Fangsheng, oblivious to the futility, continued to exert his martial skills. Wendy soon grew bored, covered her mouth with a yawn, and with a backhanded claw, scooped into her brother's chest. "You're too weak, just die. I need to bring the master's goods back soon." But Fu Fangsheng, instead, showed a small smile, suddenly straightened his body, forcing her claw in deeper, making it stuck and unable to be pulled back. Smoke wafted faintly from his body, he had hidden a homemade bomb in his embrace. The next second, the bomb detonated, a boom rang out, and shrapnel shot in all directions. Fu Fangsheng was blasted away, his body charred, yet his face showed a look of regret. It turned out that Wendy vanished at the very moment the bomb detonated, reappearing 20 meters away. With the vampire's teleportation ability, only her shoulder was hit by the silver, now slowly smoking and burning. Wendy's face grew cold as she gouged out the flesh from her shoulder along with the embedded silver, casually discarding it. "Very vicious. This will only make your death even more painful." With a motion of her hand, a pool of inky substance appeared out of thin air, pulling a young girl from the cabin into her grasp. Wendy's fangs protruded even longer, clearly intending to feed on the girl to recover from her injuries, and the girl cried out in terror. At this point, both Zhao Sanduo and Fu Fangsheng were heavily injured and couldn't make it in time, leaving Zhang Daming, the one with the highest cultivation, to stand forth. "Demon Beast, halt! Stay tuned for updates on Empire." Zhang Daming's hands flashed, and the throwing knives at his waist painted ripples in the air, reaching their target in the blink of an eye. The old man, still dressed in patched clothing, wasn't wealthy, but he did not hesitate to throw his silver knives. Regrettably, they had little effect. Wendy merely swayed her upper body slightly to avoid them, with minimal movement. In response, she flicked her hand, and the inky substance transformed into a pitch-black whip that cracked out, sending Zhang Daming flying with a loud bang. "My master taught me." Wendy's eyes turned a deep blood red as she spoke slowly, "Humans are a lower species, bound by their own morals and emotions. But we noble vampires are free. This is an evolutionary advantage." She lifted the girl to her mouth and smirked triumphantly, and history has proven time and again, that survival of the fittest is an eternal rule. With that, her mouth opened wide to bite down and drain the young girl in her hand. Just at this critical moment, a loud sound of high-speed movement suddenly pierced the air. Following a thunderous explosion, Wendy screamed as she was sent flying and crashed through several rows of wooden crates on the dock before stopping. Nobody knew when Liu Yao had arrived at the scene, holding a young girl in his arms. He spoke gently to comfort her, instructing her to leave on her own before turning to face the enemy. What Liu Yao did was simple. He deployed the plucking star movement technique to approach, then used blue dragon bearing sorrow to send Wendy flying and rescue the girl. It was just too fast for anyone in the area to see what had happened. His practice of the Dragon Elephant Prujna skill and the Dragon Roar Golden Bell Shield had greatly enhanced his physical abilities, be it strength, explosive power, or defense, all of which overwhelmingly surpassed an ordinary blood exchange warrior. With the plucking star movement technique, he could reach a speed of 150 meters per second. Killing enemies and rescuing people could be done in the blink of an eye. Wendy glared at Liu Yao, her face contorted with ferocity. There was a hole the size of a big bowl on her shoulder. If she hadn't reacted quickly to dodge, her head would have been hit. The injury was swiftly enveloped in numerous black mists and healed as if nothing had happened. Without uttering a word, Wendy's figure blurred and disappeared on the spot, appearing behind Liu Yao in the next instant. Die! She shouted, slashing a bloody shadow towards Liu Yao's head. At that moment, Wendy's face was full of malice and triumph. She had slaughtered countless opponents with her speed, and the man before her would be the next. But her speed meant little in the eyes of a spirit-refining expert. Liao Qi had seized her movement, ready to raise his automatic shotgun and fire. Li Pei put a hand on his arm and said, "There's no need for that, my lord will take care of it." Just as she had said. Liu Yao, as if having eyes in the back of his head, slightly tilted it to dodge the attack and unleashed the prepared blood battle in all directions with tremendous force. Likewise, a sky full of punch shadows engulfed Wendy, but this time she could not avoid them with ease. The punches were not only faster but also seemed eerily predictive. The fists appeared to predict her movements, waiting in place no matter where she dodged. It was as if she was running into them by choice. Wendy was bombarded relentlessly. Initially, she could use her arms to block, but the vampire's physical inferiority to the martial artist became glaringly obvious. After a few blocks, she could no longer defend herself and had to take the hits. Wendy's body was torn open by numerous horrifying gaps, flung like a ripped sack, and once more crashed into a pile of wooden crates. This human spirit is too strong, I am no match for him. Wendy quickly realized this and, seeing her opponent press on with a terrifying palm technique, immediately turned and fled. Liu Yao's left hand formed the immovable fundamental seal, and with his right hand, he struck a white wave of air. None other than Tathagata Divine Palm, Buddha shakes mountains and rivers. He had always wanted to find a suitable opponent to test this move, and now was the perfect opportunity. Seeing his opponent attempting to flee, he immediately activated the plucking star movement technique, tearing through the air to give chase. At the critical moment, Wendy's figure sharply vanished, reappearing 50 meters away in the opposite direction from Liu Yao. It was a pre-selected escape spot that no one could intercept. She frantically sped up and headed for the woods. But in the next second, a violent whooshing sound from behind made Wendy turn around in disbelief. Liu Yao's feet furiously shattered the ground, creating a hole half a meter deep and 1 meter in diameter. Using sheer brute strength, he somehow absorbed the momentum, abruptly changed direction, and continued the chase. His Tathagata Divine Palm, Buddha shakes mountains and rivers was also coming his way. The onlookers were agape with amazement at the display of such physical toughness. The impact on his legs from that moment would have been tremendous, something not even Fu Fangsheng and Zhao Sanduo could withstand. Facing an opponent who physically overpowered her, Wendy had no choice but to scream and unleash numerous blood shadows to clash with Liu Yao's attacks. As both of their strikes collided, a thunderous boom resounded, and Wendy, having lost almost half of her body, was hurled back, hitting and snapping a thick tree before rebounding onto the ground with debris scattering everywhere. At this moment, both of her forearms were gone, and a radiating large hole gaped in her chest, with countless black mists pouring out of it. Meanwhile, Fu Fangsheng, Zhao Sanduo, and others were so astounded by the spectacle that they remained speechless and motionless. Chapter 302. Yai-he. The Tathagata palm had a tremendous power comparable to cannonballs, and Liu Yao couldn't have been more satisfied. He had become increasingly skilled with this move, not only in the speed of its execution but also in the ability to hold it back until the timing was perfect to strike. Looking at Wendy, who was lying on the ground unable to get up, Liu Yao sighed and decided against delivering a final blow. If it weren't for the blood-red eyes and the elongated fangs, she would just seem like a delicate East Asian girl. A mere child. She was in fact Fu Fangshen's sister, who had been missing for many years. It was only right to leave her fate in his own hands. Fu Fangsheng stepped forward, his wounds now twisted back in place, muscles and bones retracted. He bowed deeply to Liu Yao as a sign of thanks, then went over to his sister and reached out his hand, saying, Fu Qian, come home with me. Don't eat people anymore, do good deeds and redeem your sins. Concealing her fangs and blood-red eyes, Wendy took her brother's hand to stand, then feebly collapsed into his embrace. Fu Fangsheng hastened to hold her, leaving himself completely open with no guard raised. Seeing his vulnerability, she said in a subdued tone with her eyes downcast, Big brother, actually, your little sister, has long been, dead. With that, she bit down hard on Fu Fangshen's neck. This way, she not only could drink the blood of a blood exchange realm martial artist to recover from her injuries, but also take a hostage. Wendy drank several big gulps of fresh blood and quickly climbed onto Fu Fangshen's back, her nails threatening his temples as she exclaimed, Don't come any closer. Or else I will kill him. Her fangs and blood-red eyes appeared once more, and with contempt, she sneered at Fu Fangsheng. The first embrace changes one completely at the soul level. And you actually thought you could pull me back to humanity. How ludicrous. What I hate the most is the human body I was born into. But Wendy's joy lasted scarcely a few seconds before her face contorted with sudden agony, and she violently spat out all the blood she had just consumed. Her features writhed in pain as she exclaimed, Your blood, there's something wrong with it. Fu Fangsheng gently laid the petite figure from his back onto the ground and said calmly, I had taken an extraordinary potion in advance that laced my blood with silver. It was, in fact, nano-silver solution, and he had drunk an entire bottle of it, a full liter. Wendy convulsed uncontrollably, black substance seeping from her features. Her veins bulged like worms, turned pitch black, as if she had been stricken by a potent poison. Even suffering a blow from the Tathagata palm was not as dire as this. For a vampire, ingesting silver seemed especially lethal. Fu Fangsheng pulled out a silver throwing knife from inside his clothing, the very one Zhang Daming had dropped earlier. Sister, I will now allow you to rest in peace. Your adventure continues at Empire. Grasping the knife over the small head before him, he struggled several times but found himself unable to follow through with the act. Fu Fangsheng removed his outer robe to cover his sister's head, turned his head away so as not to see, took a deep breath, and with a swift motion, the silver knife plunged down. Wendy, who had been struggling violently, stopped moving at once. Soon after, her exposed limbs began to disintegrate slowly, turning to ash. This was a sign that the vampire was at the brink of death. Before long, more ash merged into the air, and the robe that had gently covered his sister lay flat on the ground. She was now at peace. Fu Fangsheng collapsed to the ground, letting out a bestial wail of anguish. The onlookers, witnessing the scene, were all silently mourning. There were still many matters that required attention. The monastery on the mountain had to be checked out and searched. It was crucial to find out who exactly was Wendy's master. Just as everyone was about to take action, a troop hurried over. They wore uniform and carried old-fashioned bolt-action rifles on their backs, and they were police officers. The site of the battle was no less than the bustling Yangtze River, not to mention the enormous disturbance from the fire and explosions at the monastery when Liu Yao caused it to collapse. Somebody had spotted the commotion and reported it to the authorities. The commanding officer, dressed in a dark green uniform, had an extremely grim expression on his face. Now, looking up at the smoke slowly rising from the monastery, he went pale and collapsed backward, only saved from falling by the quick reactions of his attendants. Commander Wang, what's wrong? Commander Wang, hold on. Commander Wang moaned with a desperate expression, it's all over, a terrible catastrophe has occurred. Missionaries were known to tolerate their congregants' lawlessness, and religious incidents often occurred throughout the country. But an entire monastery being wiped off the map? This was surely without precedent. Commander Wang quickly remembered that there were people still present and hastily ordered, quick, capture everyone, don't let them escape. As his words fell, Li Pei flashed forward, backhand striking him with 2 slaps, how audacious. There is a martial scholar here, who dares to be reckless. Martial scholar. Commander Wang, covering his cheeks, looked intently with his followers and exclaimed, Lu. Young Master Lu. It really is young Master Lu. Liu Yao was quite surprised, am I that famous? Liao Ya smiled and said, you vanquished the Azuma warrior in an imperial front combat and are at the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, your fame is indeed quite significant. Liao Qi also vigorously nodded in agreement, looking proud by association. Liu Yao stepped forward, staring at this Commander Wang, with an expressionless face, he said, Commander Wang, right? This area is under your jurisdiction. May I ask if you know about the atrocities committed at the Sacred Heart Institute against young girls? In a spirit-refining state, he locked onto the man, transforming into the most formidable humanoid lie detector. At that moment, Commander Wang felt as though he could hardly breathe and quickly said, this subordinate has no knowledge of it at all. This convent normally has no dealings with the locals, the doors are tightly shut, not welcoming guests, and even the adoption of girls is only arranged down at the foot of the mountain. Who would bother to provoke the foreigners? Liu Yao temporarily spared him as the man had not lied. Commander Wang breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, with young Master Liu here, this subordinate will take his leave. After finishing his words, he was about to regroup. Li Pei shouted, hold on. Since this is Commander Wang's area of responsibility, let's all go up the mountain together, investigate the matter thoroughly, and report the truth. Ah! Commander Wang's face turned pale, really not wanting to get involved in this matter. But he didn't dare offend Liu Yao face to face and had to follow up the mountain, holding his nose. But what was even more unbearable for him was still to come. Journalists carrying filming equipment were hurrying over in droves. Upon seeing the scene at hand, these people instantly knew this was big news and were ecstatic. The journalists were happy as they went up the mountain, but once they found what was on the mountain, no one could smile anymore. Many of the people were seasoned professionals and, upon arriving at the Sacred Heart Institute, they noticed a large area was off. The soil was too fresh, clearly having been disturbed. Once they dug into it, they uncovered countless children's bones. Meticulously, they unearthed more than 120 skeletons. Some of the little corpses hadn't decomposed yet, hands and feet were originally bound with straw ropes, but now they were loose, indicating that the children had struggled when they were tied up. Digging deeper, the pit seemed bottomless, with bones piling up year after year, no one knew how many children were buried in this place. The journalists were serious, capturing every grim scene with various equipment, engraving these moments forever. Through everyone's efforts, they also revealed ledgers from collapsed buildings. This register recorded the adoption and deaths of the children, written by the head of the institute himself. In 2 years, a total of 2,242 girls had been taken in. And on boats along the Yangtze River, there were 500 living testimonies. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation, especially the journalists who vowed to expose all these sins, to make the atrocities known to all under heaven. Next, all the journalists, including the arriving constables, together placed the dug-up little skeletons into freshly made small coffins for reburial. All expenses were covered by Liu Yao. Fu Fangsheng held 2 urns silently observing everything, they contained the ashes of his sister and He Kui. Zhao Santuo, looking at the procession of small corpses being carried out, said, I really can't stand this. Let's return to our hometown to bury them first, then continue dealing with these damned bastards. Fu Fangsheng stared at the 2 urns for a long time, then at the rows of small coffins arrayed before him, and said in a low voice. This is just one place, and across the nation, there are who knows how many dens of demons. It is difficult to continue with individual efforts. He approached a tree and with his finger carved a justice character, the mark previously used by righteous people for mutual contact. I wish to gather warriors of chivalry like us to join forces in exorcising demons and slaying monsters. Fu Fangsheng then carved another character, unity. United as one, seeking neither fame nor fortune, we shall only aim to exterminate all demon beasts, preventing them from bringing harm to the world's people. As he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly lit up with resolution. Chapter 303. Invitation Card. Not for fame, not for profit, only to slaughter every demon beast, and prevent them from bringing calamity upon the world's people. These words were spoken by Fu Fangsheng with finality and resonance. And right after he said them, his eyes immediately brightened. At this moment, his greatest wish had been resolved, he no longer had any concerns and had found his next direction to move forward. It was not just talk, but something he truly intended to put his lifelong effort into doing. Such unwavering faith, an eternally unyielding spirit, is called firmness. Suddenly, Fu Fangsheng became different, appearing incredibly still, like a sleeping infant. With a guarded spirit and a calm heart, embrace the primal unity. Liu Yao clasped his hands and smiled, congratulations, Fu Xiang, on your sudden enlightenment, spirit refinement, firmness. Zhao Santuo also remarked emotionally, the old fellow is deeply accomplished, if not for lingering concerns, he would have broken through long ago. Now that spirit refinement has advanced to the Jin realm, his martial path must be nearing as well. Fu Fangshen's eyes widened as he looked around in amazement, is this what firmness feels like? It took a few minutes for him, a man who had suddenly come into wealth, to adjust to the spirit refining state. Then, he immediately bowed deeply to Liu Yao. This time, I am deeply indebted to Great Master Liu for lending a hand. Hereafter, whatever you command, whether to climb a mountain of swords or descend into a sea of flames, I, old Fu, will never hesitate. Liu Yao reached out to support him, but the other party's bow was so sincere and full of strength that it was hard to hold him up. He had to sidestep and let it pass, there is no need for such formalities between us. But Zhao Santuo also bowed with a smile, Brother Liu, you deserve this bow. Without you, we might all be dead. Unable to be everywhere at once, Liu Yao had no choice but to gracefully accept the two men's bow. Shortly afterwards, Zhang Daming and the others arrived. The old man had been slightly injured, but it was not serious. He used nano-silver solution to wash the wound, and it was fine. Now, he was bustling about. He had come upon a tricky problem. Ladies and gentlemen, how should we arrange for the 500 rescued girls? It's really difficult to just send them back. The original plan was to send them home, but it soon became clear that it wasn't so simple. Most of the girls had been sold to the institute by their own parents, some for money, others because they genuinely couldn't afford to raise them. Given the societal preference for boys over girls, even if we forcefully sent them back, it might not do any good. Liu Yao also felt troubled, this wasn't as simple as finding a family, giving them some money, and being done with it. That would be too irresponsible. Just then, Li Pei said, My lord, the matter is actually quite simple. You just need to send out a letter of introduction to the surrounding powers. Liu Yao, realizing later, asked, a letter of introduction? Li Pei nodded, yes. With your reputation, asking them to take in these girls and to care for them well is not a difficult thing. That would be good, let's do it that way, Liu Yao agreed immediately upon hearing a better solution. Li Pei found some paper and a pen and personally wrote the letters of introduction, inscribing only 4 characters. Yunzhou Liu Yao. She wrote 10 such letters, placing them into yellow envelopes, and handed them to several volunteers willing to act as messengers. These individuals received the letters, clasped their hands to the assembly, and sped off. Li Pei confidently declared, that should settle it, and we can even spread the word about this incident, making it a well-established fact to prevent some scoundrels from distorting the truth. This royal lady's mind is so agile, she handled the matter perfectly, saving her lord considerable worry. Liu Yao is always busy, diligently practicing without stop, seizing any bit of time to train lifting skills and seldom socializing, not fully aware of his current martial reputation. But he was about to experience it firsthand. The Yangtze River connects numerous prosperous prefecture governments, and countless powers make their living there. The messengers with the letters moved swiftly, visiting the nearby sects, gangs, and other powers at top speed. And these powers, no matter their size, upon seeing the 4 characters Yunzhou Liu Yao on the letters, immediately took them seriously, promptly sending representatives. Within less than an hour, people began arriving one after another to pay their respects. Fixing sect. Cai Dazong, I have come to see young Master Liu. Geng family fist. Geng Xiao, pays respects to Great Master Liu. Shui Yun clan. Hua Balan, pays respects to Great Master Liu. Yushan sect. Ran Qingying, fortunate to meet you. All these were influential figures within their respective forces, the weakest among them had at least achieved organ refining, the vast majority were at the marrow cleansing level, and only a few had reached blood exchange. Your next read is at Empire. This was the typical composition of the ordinary forces. After the crowd hurried over, they saw rows of small coffins, a large pit where the bones of young children were buried, and the 500 girls that had been rescued. They immediately understood what had happened and burst into angry curses. Those who harm young girls are worse than beasts. Those foreigners are really despicable. It's only because young Master Liu demonstrated his divine prowess that they were eradicated, otherwise, Geng Xiao, would certainly not have let them off. Some were secretly amazed, the institute had been leveled to the ground. Young Master Lu's move was impressively bold. Those with a bit of insight could tell at a glance that the institute's layout was essentially a fortress. Smelling the pervasive scent of gunpowder and seeing the remnants of large cannons strewn about, they knew this battle must have been on a grand scale. Besides them, countless reporters also continued to arrive. These reporters were from Jinling and Zhenjiang, who had just received the news and rushed over swiftly. Upon arrival, they didn't even catch their breath, they immediately started filming with their equipment, and some began drafting reports on the spot. The crowd paid no attention to them and instead focused on discussing the matter of the 500 girls. Liu Yao bowed with clasped hands and said solemnly, "Thank you all for coming here despite your busy schedules. Please do what you can to provide these poor girls with a place they can call home. Rest assured, young Master Liu, we will not mistreat these poor girls. We should also thank young Master Liu for inviting us to join this righteous cause. Indeed, such a charitable and virtuous deed, we certainly won't be outdone by others." At this moment, there was not a hint of unwillingness on their faces, instead, some were quite excited. Plainly put, this was an opportunity to gain face. The news of Liu Yao and his companions leveling the Sacred Heart Institute and eradicating the den of evil would undoubtedly become known to the entire world. Aiding the rescued young girls and being part of this affair not only reflected well on them but also allowed them to build a good relationship with a master of spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing. Why wouldn't they be eager to help? Following this, the crowd began adopting the rescued girls. Some took 2, others 3, and the Yushan sect, who said the least, directly adopted 50 girls. Liao Qi explained, this is a sect composed entirely of females, so such a decision is actually quite normal. In this way, just the local forces from Mingzhou alone adopted over 100 of the girls. By evening, as the forces from Jinling, Zhenjiang, Yunzhou, and other places sent people, there were almost not enough girls to go around. Zhang Daming, who had been bustling about all this time, breathed a sigh of relief. With this, I dare not say these girls will be dressed in silk and jade, but growing up safely is definitely not a problem. He then respectfully said to Liu Yao, "Young Master Liu, following you has accumulated great virtue for this old man." Liu Yao waved his hand and said, "Don't mention it, it was just a simple effort, nothing much. Moreover," he looked towards the river, his expression cold, "this matter isn't over yet. That Linjiang gang, Master Zhang, could you tell me more about them?" Liu Yao remembered clearly the animal that had escaped earlier, and now that he had the chance, he was determined to deal with it. Zhang Daming spoke with righteous indignation, "The Linjiang gang is the largest local gang in Mingzhou, and their business has always involved human trafficking. Even the foreigners knew that what they were doing was utterly devoid of any humanity, so they wouldn't blatantly transport them through the ports. So, they employed the boats of the Linjiang gang to transport them directly down the Yangtze River and onto the ocean-going cruisers. The one that escaped earlier is the sole son of the Linjiang gang leader, Hobo." After a lengthy explanation, Zhang Daming was somewhat reluctant. Although the Linjiang gang is worse than beasts, their leader Holin is an expert of the innate realm. This matter, we need to plan carefully. Liu Yao smiled and said, "Thank you, Master Zhang, for the advice. I have taken note of it." Chapter 304. Offering a reward for the entire Linjiang gang. The next day, everyone cleared out a cemetery and worked together to bury countless little coffins, giving these poor children a true final resting place. Li Pei found a piece of blue stone as tall as 2 men, and carved the entire sequence of events in detail onto the stone stele, which he then set up beside the cemetery. Several journalists who remained took fervent photos, preserving a wealth of visual material. When the dust had settled, people began to take their leave. Facing the 10 righteous warriors including Zhang Daming who took part in this affair, Liu Yao gave a solemn bow and said, "Gentlemen, this is where we part ways. If you ever need me, do not hesitate to seek me out." Zhang Daming and the others were visibly pleased. Despite initially coming forward out of a sense of outrage and not expecting anything in return, none would refuse the goodwill of a fetal breath expert. Even if they themselves had no use for it, they had fellows and family members to consider. Overjoyed, they repeatedly bowed in gratitude, "We are endlessly grateful for young Master Lu's high regard. Young Master Liu has the heart and courage of a knight, a true peer among our ranks. The green hills will remain unchanged, the clear rivers will flow forever. We shall meet again." After parting with them, Liu Yao's family, along with Fu Fangsheng and Zhao Sanduo, hurried back to Jin Garden to visit the monk whose legal name was Benming. With the formidable vitality of a blood exchange warrior, after just a day and a night, the monk was out of danger and even able to move freely. Amitabha, thank you, young Master Liu, for saving my life, Benming said with his hands together and a bright look in his eyes. Not at all, Liu Yao said with a wave of his hand and a smile, but congratulations are in order for your breakthrough into the spirit refinement realm. Is this, entering a meditative state? Benming, rubbing his bald head, sighed, I faced life and death and broke through by sheer chance. You and old Fu have both broken through. At this moment, Zhao Sanduo had a constipated expression. They had all been at the focused spirit stage, but suddenly two of them had advanced, leaving him, the only underachiever, feeling not so great. Subsequently, everyone made some cordial and emotional remarks. Seeing that the monk was well, the trio expressed their desire to take their leave. Fu Fangsheng and his two brothers couldn't wait to fulfill their grand ambition to gather as knights and slay all demon beasts. There is no banquet in this world that doesn't end, Liu Yao said, before you go, I have a few things to give you to bolster your journey. As he finished speaking, the Liao family sisters had already carried 3 sets of battle armor and 3.50 caliber machine guns into the courtyard. These were early products. The relatively lightweight battle armor and machine guns were ideal for the 3 brothers to use. Liu Yao said with a smile, with these items, you'll be even more formidable, and your journey will surely be smooth sailing. Stroking the advanced craftsmanship of the battle armor and machine guns, they looked on in awe. Knight armor? Heavy machine guns? Young brother Liu really has remarkable connections to secure the most coveted military hardware of today. Indeed, these 2 items are heavily regulated nowadays, even with silver, they're hard to come by. Tools of slaughter were constantly evolving on the western battlefields, with automatic cannons already invented, and the designs of knight armor changing daily. Wearing super heavy armor was not unheard of. Although the items from Liu Yao were clearly formidable, they were not too far ahead of their time. The 3 brothers gladly accepted the gifts, and Fu Fangsheng expressed his heartfelt thanks, young brother Liu, we won't stand on ceremony. Though we part ways now, we shall meet by the mountains and rivers in the future. Take care. After seeing off the 3, Liu Yao inquired with Li Pei, what's the stance of the imperial court and Mini's officialdom regarding the matter with the Sacred Heart Institute? Li Pei replied, it's only been a day and a night, their response won't be so quick. But they're certainly in a fix this time. The news of the Sacred Heart Institute harming young girls was printed on the very same day and is now common knowledge. It's a huge scandal that no one can ignore. Then let's not worry about that for now. Summon Zhang Jin, I have tasks to arrange. As you command, my lord. Calling for the eunuch Zhang Jin was to deal with the Linjiang gang. A gang that serves demon beasts and traffics in girls must certainly be eradicated, not a single one can be spared. But the Linjiang gang is special. Relying on the Yangtze River for sustenance, their branches are scattered throughout the north and south of the river, and many key figures travel by boat all year round. They not only sail on the Yangtze River and the nearby seas but also make their way to Izumo. That makes it difficult to wipe them out in one fell swoop. Liu Yao didn't have time to waste on them, so he decided to offer a reward. This is a common tactic used by large powers to deal with lone wolves. Fu Fangsheng and the others were wanted by the church and various foreign firms. And Liu Yao was not short of money, he wanted to do it big. Having received the summon, Zhang Jin arrived in merely a quarter of an hour, bringing along 2 capable subordinates. Your servants greet young Master Liu. Rise, Liu Yao said in a clear voice. You've been diligent with getting the factory up and running in such a short time. I dare not take all the credit, it is all thanks to your esteemed name that things could proceed so smoothly, Zhang Jin said with a bow. May I know why you have summoned me? Liu Yao said, the Linjiang gang, have you heard of them? I want to destroy them. Zhang Jin cautiously replied, the Linjiang gang, a gang on the Great River. I have heard of them. Does young master have orders? Liu Yao spoke indifferently, offer a reward. 10,000 taels of silver for the gang leader in the innate realm, 2,000 for blood exchange warriors, and so on down the line. Post a bounty for each of them from top to bottom, leave no one behind, not even the chickens or dogs. Can you handle this? Zhang Jin and his companions broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing this. You mean, offer a reward for the entire Linjiang gang? Just at that moment, Li Pei came in with a large chest, which when opened, filled the room with the glimmer of silver. It was a full 10,000 taels of silver. Realizing the determination of his master, Zhang Jin no longer hesitated and, after a moment's thought, said respectfully, "Young master, this matter is not difficult. As per the convention, we should first deposit a sum of public funds in the bank so that outsiders know you have the money and the determination. I recommend the three largest firms: HSBC, Jihad Commercial, and East Union Reasoning." Liu Yao cut him off, "Just not HSBC, you may decide on the other matters yourself." Zhang Jin continued, "Thank you for entrusting me with such responsibility, young master. Also, regarding the amount of the reward. Although Holin of the Linjiang gang is in the innate realm, his life is nearing its end, this is common knowledge and is not worth 10,000 taels of silver. In my humble opinion, 8,000 taels should be more than enough." A servant trying to save his master some unnecessary expenses, Liu Yao naturally agreed, "Then reduce it a bit." "Anything else?" Zhang Jin carefully said, "I will need 200 taels for publicity expenses to buy ad space in the major newspapers. I'll give you 500 taels. Get it done as soon as possible." "Thank you, young master. I will devote myself to carrying out the task." Having finished speaking, Zhang Jin got up to leave. Then, recalling something, he suggested, "I will be able to settle this matter tomorrow, but we must be cautious of Holin showing up at our door. Perhaps, you and Madam should go to Imperial City to recuperate." Liu Yao laughed, "Just boldly carry out the task at hand, there's no need to worry about this end." Zhang Jin thought Liu Yao had Yu Yanmei to keep watch and left reassured. In reality, Liu Yao was actually hoping that the enemy would come knocking. That way, he could save nearly 10,000 taels of silver. 3 spirit refinement powerhouses with the fire god cannon could blast anyone who dared defy them, and moreover, looking at Pipa in his divine soul, eagerly awaiting its chance to be used, Liu Yao thought, "My magical treasure hasn't even had its debut yet." Chapter 305. Scared as a street rat. In recent days, the incident at Sacred Heart Institute has completely exploded public outrage. As soon as the news hit the papers, it provoked the masses to curse vehemently, and even the noble ladies of Imperial City, usually aloof from worldly matters, couldn't help but mutter sinful. The Imperial Court, ministers of Minis, and the church all played dead, leaving the populace with no choice but to follow the matter through the newspapers. By the third day, suddenly 2 explosive pieces of news were published. First was the statement from the Jihad minister in Jinmen. The church is founded on compassion and has no intention to harm others. The Sacred Heart Institute is innocent, and the matter must be fishy. We urge Shun country to immediately punish the murderer severely and compensate the church for all losses. Such a shameless statement caused an immediate uproar. The newspapers at the time carried pictures. The deep pit full of skeletons, the tiny corpses with their arms bound behind them, everyone saw them clear as day. Even those who were skeptical understood once they visited the site themselves. And yet some still had the audacity to blatantly spout lies. Moreover, the missionaries inside Shun dynasty were indeed not doing human things. They repeatedly condoned parishioners oppressing the commoners, were themselves full of sin, and some missionaries were even demon beasts. Consequently, the Minis consulate in Jinmen was surrounded by nearly 20,000 enraged civilians that very day. There were no fewer than 10 churches around Jinmen, and the people had long suffered persecution. Now, recalling their own experiences, their anger ignited spontaneously without anyone's instigation, and they organized themselves. In the end, it was Yuan Kaisung who personally took action, using the prestige of a great Grand Master to disperse the crowd. As for the severe punishment of the murderer demanded by the powers, the imperial court put up a rare display of backbone for once. Liu Yao had acted several times, driven merely by righteous indignation, but it had preserved some vitality for the imperial court. Moreover, the foreigners were engaged in internal strife and were preoccupied with the meat grinder-like trench warfare, lacking much energy to focus on Shun dynasty. The recently self-governing Emperor Yong'an, young and vigorous, was actively promoting westernization ministers with the intention of restoring the nation's strength and thus ignored Mini's demands. When Emperor Yong'an heard of the public fury, he was even invigorated. When the public rises in a tumult, there is a reason behind it, an outrage born from righteousness, incomparable to the chaos of rabble. It is right to sharpen their edge and hone our spears and shields. In the eyes of the rulers, the public's anger towards the churches and even the foreigners was a force to be relied on. What attracted the attention of martial artists and ordinary people the most, however, was a special supplement in today's newspaper. Young Master Lu offered a bounty on the Linjiang gang. From top to bottom, including the gang leader and the ordinary members, all were subjected to the bounty. And the newspaper prominently featured verification from Jiad Commercial Bank. Lu Yao had deposited 10,000 taels of silver as a deposit in a public account. Some people in the streets, upon getting their hands on the newspaper, exclaimed on the spot, "He's putting a bounty on an entire gang. It seems young Master Lu really wants to eradicate the Linjiang gang. Who wouldn't want to do that? I want to as well. Those mother-fed beasts." The Linjiang gang received the news immediately but treated it as a joke. There are 3 blood exchange experts in the gang, and the boss himself is at the innate realm. This Lu fellow must be out of his mind. I would like to see who dares to come. These were people capable of loading a ship full of young girls and shipping them overseas for demon beasts to enjoy, completely devoid of humanity. Naturally, they wouldn't be scared. Even the leader of the Linjiang gang, Ho Linear, didn't take it to heart. At the moment, he was just angry, that kid named Lu really doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Damn it, offering just 8,000 taels. Does he think I'm old and frail? Dad, calm down, don't stoop to his level. Ho Bo was carefully attending to him. His family's fortune and honor all depended on his father, who couldn't afford any mishap. But the elderly man in front of him had withered hair and a stinking body, showing the signs of the 5 decays of heaven and man, clearly not long for this world. No wonder they were only offering 8,000 taels. Honestly, that was already a high price, but it also touched a nerve for the boss Ho Lin. When he was young, he encountered complications while advancing into the innate realm. Although the advancement was successful, his lifespan significantly decreased. He had originally counted on the initial embrace of a Western demon beast to extend his life, but now it had all been disrupted by Lu Yao. Thinking that his hope for survival was gone, Ho Lin clenched his fists so hard that he crushed the armrests of his Taishi chair and growled, "This little beast has ruined my grand plans." But immediately after, something even more infuriating happened. Report: a close attendant came in to report, "Boss, the 3rd master has been killed. Along with him, 2 hall masters have also fallen." What? Ho Lin, agitated, his face turning blue, quickly channeled his energy to suppress his reaction. The attendant continued his report. The 3rd master was conducting business in Mingzhou with the 2 hall masters when they were ambushed and all killed. Even their heads were taken. And the attendant cautiously looked up at the gloomy-faced boss and continued, "There are reports from our men that someone seems to be targeting our new ship." He was referring to the newly purchased Western-style heavy oil cargo ship, which could navigate inland rivers and coastal seas. Fast and with a high cargo capacity, it was the lifeline of the gang. Ho Bo quickly asked, "Dad, what should we do?" Ho Lin pondered for a moment and decisively said, "Mobilize our influence on the official side to suppress this matter. We can't let a man with the surname Lu blatantly contract killers. If that doesn't work..." Ho Lin's eyes turned cold. "Find out the backing of that Lu kid. Where Yu Yanmei is. I want her exact location." Ho Bo exclaimed, "Start a fight?" The Moonstar sect that Yu Yanmei belongs to is an extremely formidable assassin sect. We can't afford to provoke them. Wouldn't it be better to take a step back for broader skies? Shut up! Ho Lin rebuked, "Can't you see? If we don't stop this now, we will have no place to stand in the future." The Linjiang gang overestimated the deterrence of their gang, even of their own boss. Under the overwhelming publicity from all newspapers and countless martial artists called by Li Pei to personally experience the incident, the impact of the Sacred Heart Institute event was immense. At this moment, the Linjiang gang was facing public outrage, like a rat crossing the street. Not to mention, there were hefty rewards involved. Lu Yao had opened high bounties to the lower-ranking gang members as well. The development of the situation greatly exceeded everyone's expectations. Several ordinary Linjiang gang members walked out of a restaurant, arm in arm, and before they could enjoy a moment of cool breeze, they were hacked to death on the spot by several knife-wielding tough men. A hall master of the organ refining realm had just docked his boat when he was surrounded by 4 individuals of the same realm. Even jumping into the river didn't save him, he was dragged ashore from the water and beaten to death. His head was taken. Similar events kept happening, with the killers proudly proclaiming their own names, aiming to achieve fame. The Linjiang gang was like a piece of meat falling into a school of piranhas, torn apart by numerous people. Liu Yao spent 3 days quietly cultivating at home, feeling his teeth were slightly loose. This was good news. Shedding teeth again was a sign of the 40 teeth phenomenon, an indication that the blood exchange had reached a major milestone. Subsequently, he could penetrate the governor and conception vessels and advance to the innate realm. But today, Governor Wenren Liang, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, suddenly came to visit. After sitting down, Liu Yao knew the purpose of his visit and took the initiative to ask, "Has Governor Wen come about the bounty matter?" Wenren Liang admitted frankly, "Indeed. Young Master Liu, publicly contracting killers through the newspaper is ultimately not good. Moreover, in these 3 days, countless Linjiang gang members have been killed, including the third master who possessed the blood exchange mirror. Better to bury the hatchet than perpetuate the feud. How about we both step back?" Of course, Liu Yao knew about these matters. Zhang Jin would report to him every day. The Linjiang gang's predicament, not gaining public support, was unexpected. He smiled and asked, "What if I don't want to back down, Governor Wen?" Wenren Liang smiled and changed his tone, "I am merely passing a message on behalf of an old friend. Young Master Liu need not take it to heart. Since you come from Yunzhou, naturally I am on your side in this matter. Thank you for your care, Governor Wen. It's what I should do." The two exchanged pleasantries for a few moments until Sui Arya came over with today's newspaper and respectfully said, "Uncle Master, the lady asked me to bring you this extra edition of the Yunzhou Times." Liu Yao took it and smiled lightly. Then he handed the newspaper to Wenren Liang, who saw it read, "Trading young children to feed demon beasts, no different from beasts. All levels of the government office must investigate thoroughly. We must all remember. A weak country leads to a weak populace, a strong country to a strong populace. Never forget our national humiliation, rejuvenate the divine land." It was a public article by Left Minister directly in the newspaper. With his reputation, this matter was hereby settled. Governor Wen secretly congratulated himself for not choosing the wrong side just now. This Linjiang gang was finished. Chapter 306. Try the magical treasure. Longzi town, like an ancient Jiangnan street out of an ink painting. Small bridges over running water, high gables and curved eaves, even the paths paved with blue stone slabs have an antique charm. By the river wharf, a couple of women wield wooden mallets to beat clothes. On the banks, threads of white smoke twist and rise from coal stoves. In the midst of this tranquil and rustic scene, suddenly there came the sounds of shouting and the roaring of firearms. On a small stone bridge stood a towering hulk of a man who, snorting with ahem from his nostrils, summoned all his strength and launched a ferocious punch. His opponent promptly pulled out a Colt revolver and fired. The burly man did not dodge or evade, but smashed another punch down, causing his opponent's chest cavity to cave in, blood spraying wildly as it splattered out. He himself was shot in the abdomen, bursting a spray of blood. Ripping off his clothing, the strong man bound his wound tightly, then sawed off his opponent's head with a knife. Raising the dead man's head high, he shouted for all around to hear, "Tehu Manners Ming En has slain the Linjiang gang's Longzi Hall master here." From around came waves of applause and cheers, along with enthusiastic clapping. After showing off the head, the strong man then vanished into the houses, clutching his wound. Nowadays, one must shout like this after killing a member of the Linjiang gang. Not only is it profitable, but it also brings fame and is much loved by the people of the martial world. Linjiang gang headquarters. The imposing residence, usually stern with killing intent, now seemed slightly desolate. The guards on duty were sparse, their faces bearing a look of anxiety. Zhou Gong's public statement in the newspaper, sealing this matter with finality, even subtly supported Liu Yao. The Linjiang gang was thoroughly branded as a rat crossing the street, becoming the public enemy of the martial world, fair game for all, thrown completely into chaos. Currently, the loss of the lower and middle rank gang members was severe, and even those above the marrow cleansing realm dared not step out. Those branches outside of Mingzhou could no longer be contacted. In just 3 days, the once mighty Linjiang gang was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, Hobo reported to his father with a grim expression. "The prefectural governor won't see me anymore, Lu Xiazi's backer. Yu Yanmei has even reached the Jinwala realm and is now serving under Zhou Gong." No wonder Zhou Gong suddenly spoke out. Holin was not surprised by the prefectural governor's actions, his face expressionless as he asked, "Are you certain that Yu Yanmei is in the western frontier?" "Confirmed, in the western frontier, highly regarded by Zhou Hobo sighed. Father, let's accept our defeat. Fortunately, we have a way out, we can emigrate to Minis. It's not that easy to leave. Who knows how many eyes are watching us? Holin knew well that the Linjiang gang had now turned into a succulent piece of meat, and countless others were eager to take a bite. He made a snap decision and said to his son, "You take the silver and deeds and leave stealthily first. I'll stay behind to draw attention." "What about you, Dad? Don't worry about me. Just make sure you escape," he replied curtly. Holin's eyes narrowed, a fierce expression covering his face. "I'll go meet that Lu fellow and show him how many eyes a prince has." Inside Jin Garden, Liao Qi was meticulously wiping the inside of a fire god cannon's barrel with a steel rod wrapped in oilcloth. After maintenance, she loaded 20mm cannonballs one by one into the magazine with a reloader. The young woman bent over, constantly working the lever of the reloader, her peach-shaped buttocks swaying slightly with the motion. Liu Yao walked over and grabbed a handful, it was incredibly springy. He teased with a smile, "You're quite capable, hey." Liao Qi tilted her head and gave him a kiss, cooing, "Didn't you say we should be prepared for an attack by an innate expert? I am just making extra preparations, better safe than sorry." She continued her work even while chatting, and soon a box of ammunition was ready. Liu Yao smiled and said, "Nowadays, for us, the innate realm is no longer a threat." Just as he finished speaking, 3 spiritual sparrowhawks suddenly circled in the sky around one spot. Sensing something amiss, Liu Yao said gravely, "It seems we indeed have a visitor, let's go meet this leader of the house." Holin arranged for his son to sneak away alone, while he himself deployed his light body techniques and rushed to Jin Garden. This little beast sure knows how to enjoy himself. Seeing the elegant and magnificent garden, Holin's face twisted with venomous hatred. "Today I'll chop off your limbs and kill your women right in front of you. You'll know the consequences of offending an innate grandmaster." Unfortunately, his surprise attack was discovered by the spiritual sparrowhawks from more than 10 miles away. These high-flying hunters possessed exceptionally keen vision, easily spotting rabbits 3 kilometers away, even among Blue Star's mundane creatures. The vision of the 3 spiritual sparrowhawks was even more freakish. From their high vantage point, Holin's efforts to conceal himself were in vain. By the time the gang leader Ho arrived at Jin Garden, Liu Yao's family had already been waiting for a long time. Holin wasn't too surprised. The young man before him had attained the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing and possessed ethereal sensory abilities, making him very difficult to ambush. But it didn't matter, he had intended to fight head-on anyway. He wanted this man to know just how much destruction an unbridled innate grandmaster could cause. "Ha!" Holin bellowed, channeling all of his true chi and launching a full power strike from the get-go, dispensing with any opening remarks or idle chatter. Having roved across the vast regions of Jiangnan for decades, Holin had never been one for excessive talk. But in the following second, Holin suddenly froze in place. Across from him, that young Lu surname kid, had suddenly produced a radiant and colorful pipa. As an innate realm martial artist, he certainly had ample experience. Holin stared, dumbfounded, unable to believe, impossible. "How can you have a magical treasure?" Liu Yao, cradling the pipa, posed with an otherworldly grace, nonchalantly replying, "A tune of heart-rending sorrow, searching for a confidant across the world's ends." With that, he rapidly plucked the strings, and suddenly the big strings roared like pelting rain, as the melody of Ambush from 10 Sides was played. Visible sound waves swiftly swept through the air, forming sharp blades that shot towards the enemy. Holin countered with a pair of water-splitting spikes in his hands, dancing so swiftly that not a drop could penetrate, deflecting the rain like pipa sound blades and simultaneously, with explosive force from his feet, charged towards Liu Yao. A more rapid strumming followed, sounding like a torrent bursting from a silver bottle, as the pipa's sonic blades merged into a wave, crashing down like a huge surge. Amid the dense and chaotic clanging of metal, Holin's clothes were reduced to tattered ribbons, and his water-splitting spikes were deeply notched. Yet he clenched his teeth, his arms whirled like a windmill, ignoring attacks that weren't lethal and focused solely on advancing forward. The immense strength of an innate martial artist surged tumultuously, a slight exertion cratered the ground, launching him far distances, his body impervious to swords and spears, his momentum like a tank charging forward. The pipa's sound blades could only penetrate the skin, causing minor injuries, as effective as a handgun against someone in the marrow-cleansing realm. At a distance of 50 meters, Holin roared, "You little beast, die!" Infusing true qi into his water-splitting spikes, he suddenly hurled them forward. The two spikes flashed with the speed of silver light, shooting in different directions to disrupt Liu Yao's focus, while also blocking his space to dodge. The real killing move followed closely behind. The person of Holin himself, breaking through the air. In this moment, should Liu Yao be at all distracted, he would find an innate expert at close quarters. Holin was confident he could end his foe within 3 to 5 moves. What pleased him even more was that Liu Yao's reaction seemed suddenly to slow, motionless, and about to be caught. But right as the coup de grace was about to be realized, Holin's smile froze. Liu Yao was motionless because he was gathering strength. He simultaneously plucked all the strings, and with a sound like silk being torn, he released a penetratingly high-pitched note that could be heard even 3 kilometers away. A massive, crescent moon-shaped white sonic wave formed and howled forth. First it turned the two water-splitting spikes into brittle fragments, then it shot towards the following Holin. Holin, true to his innate status, teleported mid-air to dodge, avoiding the massive sonic blade. But guided by Liu Yao's mind force, the sonic blade adjusted its trajectory in mid-flight, still aiming for its target. Holin ultimately failed to dodge, watching the blade hit him squarely, having only enough time to raise his arms in defense. The moment he encountered this special form of attack, Holin knew it was over. The pipa's sound blade was not just sharp, it was vibrating intensely, like a saw. His arms were instantly severed, and the blade's momentum didn't stop there, continuing to slash and hitting directly at his chest, splitting him nearly in half. Holin let out a soul-piercing scream, but it wasn't over. Liu Yao, expressionless, rapidly plucked all the strings twice more, releasing the penetrating pipa notes that echoed between heaven and earth. 2 enormous sonic blades howled out. Holin struggled desperately, leaping to the side to dodge. The 2 sonic blades turned mid-flight, adjusting their trajectories, and precisely hit him. A metallic tearing sound rang out, and this strong man who had established the Linjiang Gang and controlled the Yangtze River's population trade for 50 years, let out half a scream before being split into 4 large pieces, tumbling messily to the ground. Chapter 307. I'm worried something might happen to you guys. Gang leader Ho's head split into 2 sections upright, he died very transparently, his face still edged with deep unwillingness and disbelief. Liu Yao leaned on the pipa, catching his breath heavily. The final triple strike move was his current limit. Limited by his cultivation level, the pipa charm had actually only unleashed a small fraction of its power. However, even if it hadn't taken care of the enemy, he had 3 girls with him. At that moment, they came running over with the fire god cannon on their backs, surrounding Liu Yao and showering him with praise. To kill an innate realm face to face. That's so fierce. Ha, saved 8,000 silver. This magical treasure is so powerful. The crisp, sweet voices chimed in one after another. Liu Yao instructed, with this, the Linjiang Gang is as good as finished. Pai Pei, arrange for Zhang Jin to investigate. Who were the meanies people who went to the Sacred Heart Institute to buy girls a while ago? That person is Wendy's owner, buying 500 girls at once, they must be an incredible demon beast. Li Pei nodded solemnly in agreement, your concubine understands. Following that, Liu Yao went to search the body. Unfortunately, this old fool didn't carry a penny on him, nor did he have any secret manuals or the like. But he did provide Liu Yao with an unexpected gain. A lesson from a previous failure. Holin had complications during his breakthrough, it was a promotion with severe defects. The successful experiences of predecessors are certainly important, but the pitfalls they encountered are also valuable lessons. He forced his way through, too impatient, leaving irreversible severe damage in the governor and conception vessels. One must avoid brute force miracles when breaking through. He's lucky to be alive. After a thorough examination of the corpse, he had quite an enlightening lesson in caution. However, Holin's body had significant defects, he was a fake innate. Therefore, Liu Yao did not let the 3 girls see it, fearing it might mislead them. They only needed to see and touch the body of Yu Yanmei, that was the best example to follow. Throwing the useless body into the river, the family went home to continue their cultivation. No less than half an hour after the family left, a group of martial artists arrived gasping for air. The Linjiang Gang had become a target everyone wanted a piece of, countless people wished to have their share. As an innate realm expert, Holin naturally had numerous eyes on him, and he was discovered not long after he left. A large crowd wanted to witness a good show, but they ran desperately only to see nothing. At the battlefield, the ground was full of deep pits from Holin's movement techniques. It's over already? That was quick. Holin is dead. Being seasoned veterans, everyone immediately found the body parts in the river. The things Liu Yao had no interest in, these people carefully wrapped in outer robes and tucked away. These sharp cuts. Wasn't it said that Yu Yanmei was in the western frontier? Hard to say, they wouldn't dare to provoke without having some means to kill an innate realm expert in an instant. Such methods are truly terrifying. The people looked towards the distant Jin garden, feeling it to be even more unfathomable. But they quickly became excited. Holin's death was good news indeed. The biggest obstacle to getting their share of the spoils was gone, and now it was time to divide the Linjiang gang's feast. Having saved a clean 8,000 silver and gained a reference, Liu Yao felt exceptionally pleased and energized. During the medicinal bath, it took him no more than a moment to have Liao Qi lying on the edge of the tub, entering into a state of forgetful contemplation. The originally clear medicinal liquid had become somewhat turbid. Liu Yao didn't mind, and just like before, he channeled a large amount of inner breath to help his sister cleanse her spinal cord. Strictly speaking, it was Liu Yao using his own inner breath to drive Liao Qi's inner breath to wash and refine her system. The girl trusted her beloved completely, opening up the control of her body to let him do as he wished. Continue reading on Empire. Using inner vision, Liu Yao skillfully completed the refining in a quarter of an hour. With his help, Liao Qi's advancement was rapid, her spine was nearly refined, and next would be the cleansing of her brain marrow. This step was difficult, as the brain is a very fragile organ, and the slightest deviation could lead to severe consequences like paralysis or dementia. It had to be approached with patience and caution. At this moment, Liao Qi yawned and woke up, lazily saying, "That feels great." With her movement, some droplets slid down her crystal clear back, cascaded over her exaggeratedly curved hips, and finally flowed onto her long, straight legs. This body, with skin as smooth as cream, could easily stir one's appetite. After sensing her cultivation level, Liao Qi squinted her eyes and smiled, "Haha, just by being with you, my cultivation level grows automatically, this makes martial arts practice too comfortable." In her gaze was both the playfulness of a young girl and the allure of a mature woman, a natural blend of two temperaments that was incredibly enticing. "Then I'll make you feel even more comfortable." Liu Yao's appetite was whetted again, and he princess carried her back to the room. The girl nestled obediently in her loved one's embrace, aware that there would be at least 3 battles tonight, and Liu Yao would help her cultivate by channeling her inner breath during the breaks in the fights. With the assistance of the dynamic dragon subduing art and the 10 complete immortal pill, her cultivation level soared swiftly. Suddenly Liao Qi said, "My cultivation level is now the same as my sister's." As Liu Yao dried her body, he realized, "Yeah, you've caught up to her. It's all thanks to me." Liao Qi laughed with a snort, biting her lip and saying, "Then I have to thank you. Can you do a bit more so I can surpass her?" "Surpass her? What do you want to do?" With a sly expression, the girl narrowed her eyes and said, "She always spanks me, once I'm stronger than her, I'll spank her back for revenge." "Ah!" Liu Yao was momentarily speechless, "You really hold a grudge?" "It's been my dream since I was little back then, my sister was so domineering, spanking me every day." Liao Qi slowly wrapped her arms around her beloved's neck, "Even though I know she did it for my good, I still want my revenge. Just once would be enough." Ah! The two were busy until late into the night, and were the last to sleep in the house. Not long after lying down, Liu Yao was the first to hear the sharp sound of breaking through the air, a speed that must belong to an innate expert. But his divine sense perception sensed no danger, and the 3 spiritual sparrowhawks showed no reaction. It was definitely someone familiar. Calmly dressing and going outside, sure enough, the person was Yu Yanmei. The female Grandmaster's hair was disheveled, indicating that she had been on the road for a long time. "Grandmaster Yu, what brings you back?" After catching her breath, Yu Yanmei said irritably, "Isn't it because I saw in the newspaper that you were recruiting innate experts? I was worried something might happen to you, so I hurried back." "You shouldn't have bothered. Did you come a long way, from the western frontier?" Liu Yao felt embarrassed for causing her to worry. "It's all right, I came back from Daihua, alternating between running and flying for 2 days and nights. It was tiring but also quite interesting." Yu Yanmei lifted her arm to show a wing membrane connecting it, revealing that she was wearing a wingsuit flight suit. Liu Yao was moved by the thought, from Daihua in the western frontier to here was a distance of 3,200 kilometers. Yu Yanmei had rushed back without a second thought upon hearing there might be trouble here. Even with the wingsuit flight suit, non-stop travel must have been exhausting. She indeed was a kind-hearted person with a cold exterior but a warm heart. At this time, the other girls also heard the commotion and came out. Li Pei joyfully threw herself into her master's arms. "Master, didn't I send you a telegram? Why did you still come back?" Yu Yanmei ruffled her disciple's hair, saying, "Holin is a seasoned innate expert, and he's ruthless. I was afraid you might be in danger. But it seems now that my worries were unfounded." Chapter 308. Donating funds to help with expenses. They prepared a medicinal bath for Yu Yanmei, and as they waited for the water to boil, everyone sat in the courtyard chatting. "Grandmaster Yu, I heard Prefectural Governor Xiu highly regards you. Did you ask him to publish that article in the newspaper?" "Actually, I did not." Yu Yanmei shook her head. It was he who learned about the incident through the newspaper and took the initiative to speak out. Prefectural Governor Xiu truly is a person of high virtue and acclaimed reputation. Originally, the Linjiang gang could have caused trouble for a month or two. But once Prefectural Governor Xiu made his statement, they were instantly branded as outcasts of the martial world, and the vast gang dissipated like smoke in just 3 days. Li Pei suddenly asked, "Master, how is the situation with the western frontier battle?" This was a question of concern for everyone. The Agubai gang, under the support of powerful states like the Rakshasa and others, dominated the western regions as kings, establishing a nation known as the Hongfu Khanate. Their leader Agubai, born a dancing boy, meaning a child concubine, surely was no simple character to have reached such a status. Yet in front of Prefectural Governor Xiu, he still seemed somewhat insignificant. Yu Yanmei started to say. Last year, taking advantage of the great powers embroiled in conflict, Prefectural Governor Xiu launched a coffin-carrying western campaign, crushed Agubai and reclaimed Daihua. It was the onset of winter, with heavy snow sealing off the mountains, along with the matter of the heavenly demon Empress Dowager, that made Prefectural Governor Xiu temporarily halt his advance. By the warm days of March when the ice and snow melt, he plans to completely crush the gangs and establish a province in the western frontier. Li Pizan said joyfully, "Worthy of Prefectural Governor Xiu, with this, the western frontier will surely be secure." "We shouldn't celebrate too early," Yu Yanmei shook her head. "Agubai is not the worry. The challenge lies with the great powers. Rakshasa, Einheit and the Ottoman are all backing this Agubai, coveting the north and south of Tian Shan mountains. Enjoy exclusive adventures from Empire." Prefectural Governor Xiu wanted to settle this once and for all while the foreigners were fighting amongst themselves. However, with Jihad's decline clearly apparent and the great powers catching their breath, there might be complications. Liaoya and Liao Qi muttered to each other, "The foreigners are really annoying. Even when they are fighting among themselves, they still engage in plots and schemes." While talking, Liaoya smelled strange stench of blood on her sister and, noticing her looking rosy and enticing, instantly realized they had probably been up to no good. The sect leader secretly spit in disdain. At this moment, the water for the bath was ready. Everyone hurriedly let Yu Yanmei go soak in the bath to relax and get some good rest. Liu Yao also stood up to leave, but upon returning to his room, he found several girls still there, motionless, which made him wonder. In the end, it was Li Pei who came over, somewhat embarrassed, to explain, "Master has asked us to study her body. Since there are differences between men and women, we didn't call for you." Liu Yao. Yu Yanmei's body was definitely a model-level specimen. Studying it carefully would be entirely beneficial and not at all harmful. Last time allowing Liu Yao to touch and observe was because the situation was exceptional, as breakthroughs in the martial path were akin to life or death separations. But at this time, such casual behavior would not be appropriate, propriety had to be maintained. Liu Yao could only lie in bed, touching himself to recall the feel. Once you got to know Yu Yanmei, she was actually quite easygoing. Li Pei would often playfully mess around with her, not at all like the relationship between a master and disciple or mother and daughter, but more like sisters. At this moment, laughter and noise came from the bathhouse. Since she had returned, Yu Yanmei was not in a hurry to leave. Especially after Li Pei begged earnestly, she decided to stay for a while and wait until Prefectural Governor Xiu used his troops before heading back. Meanwhile, she would give some pointers for their cultivation. Liu Yao was only too happy about this arrangement, ordering medicinal meals from the Four Seas Tower to properly take care of this female Grand Master. Yu Yanmei lived up to his hospitality, devoting her attention to the three young women, constantly instructing them. Days passed, one after the other, and soon it was late February. On this day, Liu Yao was applying the dynamic dragon subduing art to Li Pei. Being an old married couple, Liu Yao didn't stand on ceremony. After massaging the exterior, naturally, the interior also required attention. What was most important was that this royal lady didn't put on airs at all, allowing him to do as he pleased, agreeing to everything he wanted. Moreover, after finishing, Li Pei would tenderly squat down to help massage his feet. With the sole of his foot resting on her chest, Liu Yao blissfully squinted his eyes. Just then, the eunuch Zhang Jin suddenly came to visit, seeking an audience for some important matter. After paying his respects and greeting, Zhang Jin first handed over a document. Son-in-law, the only son of the Linjiang gang leader has been executed, and this servant has personally verified that the head is indeed his, without mistake. Liu Yao briefly glanced at it. He was quite the runner, made it to the South Ocean. Indeed, agreed Zhang Jin. He made a feint towards Minis and then secretly fled to the South Ocean. Thinking he could deceive everyone, he was ultimately recognized by a prostitute he had once sold, truly reaping what he sowed. Afterward, Zhang Jin personally presented the expense account for the household to review. Since the gang leader had been personally disposed of by Liu Yao, saving 8,000 taels of silver, the expenses weren't great, and the 10,000 taels in the bank were not entirely depleted. Liu Yao handed it to Li Pei at his side, who would verify it. Then he asked, what about the Minis people who were buying up a large number of young girls? Have they been found out? Zhang Jin respectfully replied, when we raided the Linjiang gang headquarters, I personally went and scrutinized all their account books and letters. The buyer is a prominent family from Minis. The Johnson family, whose head currently holds the position of vice president. Liu Yao nodded slightly, taking note of this debt. Zhang Jin paused before reporting the second matter. Recently, due to the empty state treasury, the left minister has called upon all sectors of society to donate funds for military provisions. How much shall we donate? Please instruct, son-in-law. Donate funds for military provisions. The old saying goes, before troops move, provisions must come first. You can't wage war without money. Although they had already intercepted a sum intended for the Empress Dowager's garden, this money was a mere drop in the bucket for the immense Western Expedition Army. But the imperial court truly had no money left, not even enough to restore the Beiyang fleet, let alone extra provisions to support the battles in the western frontier. Emperor Yong'an was pestered every other day by the left minister for money, and ran out of options. Consequently, he issued an imperial decree, allowing the left minister to raise funds on his own. This decree effectively handed over both military and financial power. Only someone like the left minister could be entrusted with such confidence. Thus, the great Grand Master of the left first went to the foreigners' banks for loans. Ironically, the banks of Rakshasa and Einheit, upon seeing his lordship seeking a loan, immediately dispensed 50,000 taels of silver. You must understand, at this time both governments were plotting over the western frontier, and the actions of these two banks were completely tantamount to aiding the enemy. But for the banks, it was a matter of the highly respected Great Grand Master being a valuable client worthy of sustained cooperation. National interests? Not my problem. Subsequently, the left minister sent trusted agents to the wealthy prefecture governments, particularly the major trading ports, to call for donations for military provisions. Zhang Jin's textile factory had naturally also received a letter. Liu Yao was well aware. The left minister's advantage would last for ages. Wanting to thank him for the latter's indirect support in the past, he consulted with Li Pei, Pei, how about we donate 10,000 taels? Since the amount was quite substantial, Li Pei hesitated. If we directly donate 10,000, it would make it difficult for many others to save face. Zhang Jin also concurred, son-in-law, this servant has learned that even the prefectural yamen has only donated 1,000 taels. It was like contributing to a communal gift. It wasn't always the case that more was better. Liu Yao nodded and said, let's donate under an individual name. Including everyone in our family, even Sua area, as well as the textile factory, each shall donate 1,000 taels. That way, it won't be conspicuous. Li Pei laughed, this is a good solution, it not only repays the left minister, but also saves face for others, making us appear modest. She then instructed Zhang Jin, just do as the husband said. Zhang Jin bowed deeply, this servant understands and will surely handle it thoroughly and meticulously. Chapter 309, so fast it's incomprehensible. With Yu Yanmi's personal guidance and Liu Yao's daily massages, the cultivation progress of Li Pei, Liao Ye, and Liao Qi skyrocketed. The three women were progressing rapidly, exclaiming that cultivating felt like riding on a rocket. By the time March rolled around, Li Pei had mastered internal breath burning to perfection. She could boil water in a teapot with one hand in 60 breaths. The Liao family sisters' physiques had reached the limit of the marrow-cleansing realm. While an ordinary martial artist in this realm has the strength of 6,000 jin, they both possessed 8,000 jin, almost catching up with a blood exchange warrior. Next, the sisters planned to slow down the tempering of their bodies and focus on mind cleansing. Crossing this threshold would mean blood exchange. What's more important? The girls had not only greatly increased their cultivation but had also become clear about the path ahead. To a martial artist, this was the greatest benefit. Though their progress was rapid, the girls weren't arrogant at all because there was someone who was even faster. On the first day of March, one of Liu Yao's upper left teeth fell out. He began changing his teeth once more, preparing to advance to the 40 teeth phase. The three girls took turns playing with the tooth he had shed. Li Pei was both admiring and envious. My lord's cultivation speed now surpasses even the core true inheritances of famous schools. She remembered how when they had first met, her cultivation level had completely overshadowed his, but now, her lord had surpassed her. I practice two divine skills at the same time, of course I won't be slow. Practicing both the Dragon Elephant Pruchna skill and the Dragon Chant Golden Bell cover, as his progress improved, the benefits began to reveal themselves. Apart from increasing strength and enhancing the body's defensive capabilities, both cultivation techniques greatly boosted his physique, allowing him to quickly bypass the accumulation phase. Moreover, with the 10 complete immortal pill, his internal breath was nearly unlimited during cultivation, and coupled with the assistance of the spirit refinement realm, Liu Yao's cultivation speed was so fast it was incomprehensible. Next, he just needed to steadily advance to the 40 teeth phase, and then he could consider breaking into the innate realm. Upon reaching this realm, light weapons would be completely ineffective against him, and even machine guns would struggle to kill him. He would have the qualifications to turn the tables on Blue Star. And being two major realms higher than his senior sister, he could rightfully take her as his. Liao Ye, with an undisturbed expression and arms crossed over her chest, spoke indifferently, by the way I should let my junior brother know, I'm about to undergo blood exchange. Ah! Liu Yao was suddenly startled. Wouldn't that mean they were no longer two major realms apart? He hurriedly said, Senior sister, mind cleansing is no laughing matter, you must be cautious. Don't rush, take it slow. Liao Ye remained calm, with a clear and graceful voice. Junior brother, you can rest assured I've already got it under control. Speaking of which, I should thank you. You shared your experience in advancing realms without reservation, saving me a lot of effort. Liu Yao's face turned the color of excrement, damn it. I need to speed up. You're forcing my hand. Li Pei, fully aware of the situation, smiled without saying a word. Liao Qi was a bit puzzled. Liu Yao seemed to not want his senior sister to advance in her realm. She spoke up, I'm about to undergo blood exchange, too. Upon hearing this, Liao Ye solemnly reminded her, little sister, mind cleansing is no laughing matter, you must be extremely careful. Liao Qi nodded confidently, I've already got it under control. That? Liao Ye asked, how did you cultivate so fast? Just before, her little sister's cultivation level was significantly lower than hers, how did she suddenly catch up? Liao Qi glanced at Liu Yao, scratched her head shyly, and said, Liu Yao often gives me special treatment. Liao Ye didn't understand very well. Everyone received massages, so even a few extra rubs shouldn't make such a big difference. Li Pei chuckled and leaned in to explain the matter to Liao Ye. Liao Ye blushed and fell silent. Such special treatment wasn't her turn to enjoy. Just as Liu Yao thought about seeking advice on advancing to the innate realm, Yu Yanmei took the initiative to find him, but it was to bid farewell. With the spring breeze of March melting the snow, it was time to employ troops, and naturally, Yu Yanmei had to leave as well. Li Pei found it hard to let go, took her hand, and softly said, Master, we're not short on resources, please don't go to the western frontier battlefield. Can't you stay? Even the Jinwala realm wasn't invincible, With the Gubai receiving support from the powers, there was no shortage of new cannons and automatic guns. Yu Yanmei was inevitably to be used as an assassin, making this trip very dangerous. Yu Yanmei was keenly aware of this but still resolutely refused. The upcoming war is very important, related to the success or failure of solidifying our hold on the western frontier. I must be present. It's essential to take lasting measures while the great powers are too busy to care. Li Pei hung her head in silence. Yu Yanmei touched her disciple's head and sincerely said, "This trip to the western frontier has broadened my horizons a lot and has been a great help to my cultivation. Speaking of which, I have to thank Liu Yao. Without the burden of gold, I don't have to go to the South Ocean and fight desperately." Liu Yao modestly clasped his hands. Within the family, there's no need for politeness. Grandmaster, you need not be courteous. This unassuming and humble attitude made Yu Yanmei even more satisfied with her son-in-law. She remembered when the news of her advancement to the Jinwala realm spread, many forces approached her for negotiations, making many harsh demands. There were even some despicable people who wanted her to become a concubine. But these people didn't know. Yu Yanmei simply didn't lack gold. She had the right to choose her own life path, to wield her sword for the people of the world, and not live cravenly for gold. Experience exclusive tales on Empire. At this moment, Li Pei handed over the teeth that Liu Yao had shed to her master. "My husband will soon require the 40 teeth set, we need to prepare for advancing to the innate realm." "So soon?" Yu Yanmei took the teeth and was suddenly shocked. "Let me check your foundation." After saying so, she extended her hand and sent innate true qi circulating for a moment. "The foundation is very solid." Yu Yanmei withdrew her hand and praised, "I thought you were talented enough when you learned the Tathagata divine palm in an hour, but now I see I underestimated you." Liu Yao smiled and explained how he cultivated two divine skills together. Yu Yanmei nodded in approval. Each person's situation is different, and one needs to be creative. "You're doing the right thing. With both the spirit refinement realm and immortal pills, you must make full use of them." Li Pei urged, "Master, enough with the praise, quickly share with my husband everything about breaking through the realm, like the insights from our ancestral grandmasters and the like." Yu Yanmei paused, almost toppling over from frustration. "You rebellious disciple. Truly, a woman is hard to keep." Li Pei continued laughing carefree. Ignoring her, Yu Yanmei turned to Liu Yao and said, "There's nothing that can't be shared with you. But even if I tell you, you can't handle such a significant event as advancing to the innate realm by yourself. As your elder, I must be present to watch over you." Afterward, Yu Yanmei called over the Liao family sisters, Liao Ye and Liao Qi, informing everyone of the relevant matters. Finally, she solemnly said, "When Liu Yao is advancing, I will surely be there to watch over." Everyone bowed in thanks together. With everything settled, the time came for Yu Yanmei to depart. She slung the long chuan sword over her back, waved casually to everyone, and within a few leaps, she was gone. This Grandmaster appeared high-spirited and full of fighting resolve. While most people would avoid the western frontier battlefield at all costs, she was eager to try her hand. Chapter 310. Radiation Cultivation. Everyone saw Grandmaster Yu off into the distance. Liu Yao said casually, "Senior sister, mind cleansing is not to be taken lightly, better take it slow, okay?" Liao Ye, proud as a little hen, raised her head and puffed out her chest. "Junior brother, there's no need to worry. Within 3 months, I will have completed the blood exchange. By then, we will be at the same realm and can have a proper exchange of skills." Having said that, she sashayed back to her room with her beautiful hips swaying for her cultivation practice. As she left, she threw a provocative glance at Liu Yao, as if to say, "I'm not making it easy for you." Liu Yao estimated now replacing a tooth every 4 or 5 days, with 40 teeth to replace. Even if all goes well, it would take at least half a year to advance to the innate realm, definitely unable to catch up with his senior sister's progress. Seeing no hope of victory, he gritted his teeth, "Damn it, you're forcing my hand." Liu Yao actually had another trick up his sleeve: radiation cultivation. Previously, in Chernobyl, his physical functions improved under the radiation environment, and the speed of his exercises significantly increased. That wasn't even the innermost area. If he went further in, the radiation would be even more concentrated, which would certainly aid in his cultivation. Liu Yao wished he could go there now and start training to achieve divine skill grade achievement at an earlier date. But he couldn't leave the other world at the moment because Suaria was about to start her organ refining. The little girl was also experiencing that odd itch emanating from her bones characteristic of the final stage of bone tempering, and lately, it was also accompanied by pain, as if her whole body ached like a toothache. It was both itchy and painful, a severe ordeal, but a necessary step for the secondary development of her bones. As a niece breaking into a new realm, Liu Yao, being an elder, naturally had to watch over her, just as Yu Yanmei had planned to watch over him. Although he was certain Suaria wouldn't have any problems, Liu Yao had to make sure nothing went wrong. So he patiently stayed by the little girl's side for a few days. During this time, he wanted to use his inner breath to help ease her pain, but females naturally have a higher tolerance for pain than males, and Suaria was an especially mentally strong little girl who didn't even ask for Liu Yao's help. Finally, on the 5th day, a series of loud cracks echoed through the courtyard. Suaria was practicing the Liao family fist. She could produce sound with each move without gathering her strength beforehand, the series of loud cracks merging into a continuous burst like fireworks. She then leaped vigorously, jumping up to a height of 6 meters. The little girl had finally completed her organ refining, and, coincidentally, today was her 12th birthday. "Thank you, Master, thank you, Granduncle." Suaria knelt and kowtowed deeply in gratitude to Liaoya and Liu Yao, and they did not avoid it, readily accepting her gesture. Liaoya, with the Grand Master's aura, said seriously. "The organ refining realm strengthens the internal organs and nurtures the inner breath to increase strength tenfold. It's the first qualitative change on the martial path. But this is just the beginning. The road ahead is long, and you must avoid arrogance and impatience, strive forward with perseverance. Remember this well. I will keep my master's teachings in mind." Suaria kowtowed again. Liu Yao helped the little girl up and said with a smile, "All right, don't be so serious. This is a joyous occasion, and today is your birthday too." Liaoya sighed, her expression softened a bit, and she gently patted Suaria's head. "You've grown so fast. You must not become complacent in the future." Suaria squinted her eyes like a little cat. "Master, rest assured." At this moment, Liu Yao said, "Senior sister, there's nothing to worry about here now. I have to leave for a few days to try to advance to the next realm as soon as possible, to fulfill our agreement." Liao Ya's face turned red instantly. "Don't even think about it." Liu Yao chuckled, "I'm surely going to reach the next realm before you, senior sister. You have to keep your word." Suaria was stunned listening to their conversation. Her master and granduncle were having an affair. "Come on, before I leave, I'll give you both a massage." Before leaving, Liu Yao massaged everyone in the family. Having completed her organ refining, Suaria could now endure the full art of the Dragon Slayer manual. With such favorable conditions, her future achievements were boundless. Liu Yao could finally return to the Blue Star with peace of mind, ready to initiate the Radiance cultivation plan. Of course, following tradition, he certainly couldn't make the trip for nothing. He had to buy. This time, however, Liu Yao was particularly confident. Star Key was already 51% charged. All earned through hard work, rubbing his hands every day. With so much energy saved up, he planned to ruthlessly fill the space-time bubble with purchases from Blue Star, ready to whip out tanks, cannons and the like to pummel his enemies at any moment. Blue Star. In the snow-covered pine forest, a green spiral-shaped portal suddenly appeared. The next second, Liu Yao emerged from it. He was only 20 kilometers from Marshall's tank factory, so Liu Yao decided to go shopping first. It was mid-February on Blue Star, the coldest season in Yakolun. This year, the temperature had plummeted to -30 degrees Celsius. Snowflakes fluttered down, whitewashing the landscape in a vast expanse of ice and snow. In such a season, Alexander was comfortably nestled in his warm office, enjoying a drink. Liu Yao's arrival came as a pleasant surprise. "Ah, dear Liu, you are such a hard-working and busy person, not even resting in this hellish weather." "Driven by life's demands," replied Liu Yao as the snow on his clothes turned to steaming vapor. He threw a bag of money onto the floor with a heavy, dull thud. "This is the deposit. I want 1 tank with the same specs as last time, also 2 155mm howitzers, 3 mechas, and yes 3 more fire god cannons and machine gun cannonballs." Alexander buried his face in the money, inhaling deeply, which seemed to invigorate him, sobering him up. "No problem, but it will take some time, about a week." It takes a while to handle scrapped equipment from the front lines. No hurry, I've got other business to take care of. Just make sure the quality is assured, and don't give me anything that's actually scrapped. You can count on my reputation, Alexander assured. The two had collaborated many times, and they quickly finalized the deal in just a few words. Alexander poured himself another glass of strong liquor. Care for a drink? He offered. Liu Yao shook his head and stood up to leave. No, thanks. I'm still busy. Alexander downed his drink in one gulp. We're all driven by life's demands. With that, he too got up to attend to his business. He needed to contact the officers on the front lines and his own connections, maneuvering through various channels to coordinate the deal. Marshall's tank factory was a bankrupt enterprise, unable to start its tank production line without orders. They could barely scrape by making ACE and 7.62 bullets. It was a miserable existence. At present, their largest customer was Liu Yao. Alexander didn't care who Liu Yao was, whether he was a terrorist or something of the sort. As long as there was money to be made, that was all that mattered. Once a person grows old without enough retirement savings, their remaining years become a hellish experience. This was a consensus among Alexander's social circle. Liu Yao returned to the ice and snow world, speeding through the falling snow with great haste. Such temperatures didn't bother him, if anything, the crisp cold was quite refreshing. Maintaining a speed of 120 km per hour, he sped towards the northern realm of Chernobyl. This time he entered from the front, and Liu Yao discovered something interesting. This place, once dread-inducing to everyone, had now become a tourist destination. Many photographers and internet celebrities braved the severe cold, seizing the opportunity during the ice and snow to capture the unique serenity of Chernobyl. With 30 years gone by and the timely intervention by the Iron Alliance back then, the danger here had largely subsided, the outer areas were even starting to recover. Chapter 311. Enter the sarcophagus deeply. After purchasing a radiation detector from a shop at the entrance, Liu Yao confidently entered Chernobyl for a visit. He turned on the palm-sized device to measure, and the readings for the outermost area barely reached 0.2 microsieverts. In a typical city, it's around 0.1, so this value was basically normal, with no significant impact. Walking further in, the readings gradually rose, reaching 3 microsieverts. This was as high as the radiation on an airplane. As he continued to advance, the value slowly climbed to 5, yet Liu Yao felt nothing. The radiation detector merely beeped softly to warn him. When he arrived at the abandoned town near the nuclear power plant, the readings shot up to 30 microsieverts. The detector began to beep incessantly in alarm. But Liu Yao actually found it somewhat comfortable, having been in the vicinity before. He quickly practiced the Dragon Elephant skill and Dragon Roar Golden Bell Shield, which normally took 15 minutes, but now only 14. Indeed, the body gets excited in a radiation environment. But the concentration here is too low, the improvement is marginal. I'll go further inside to try. The current radiation levels had no effect on Liu Yao, who felt like he was drinking plain water and wanted to find something with more kick. He continued to move deeper, but the surrounding radiation levels did not increase. The Iron Alliance handled the incident well back in the day. 30 years later, Chernobyl had gradually returned to normal and was even accessible for regular visits. Liu Yao didn't know whether to feel happy or disappointed as he walked towards the nuclear power plant, the very place where the accident had happened. There was a memorial in front of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, flanked by statues that were carved in honor of the firefighters and workers who rushed to the emergency rescue at the time of the accident. After the disaster, the Iron Alliance mobilized hundreds of thousands of people, who, at great cost to their health and life, fought selflessly to prevent the catastrophe from worsening. These individuals truly deserved the title of heroes. After all, if the nuclear contamination had spread, it would have been a disaster for all of humanity on Blue Star. Beyond the memorial is the No. 4 reactor unit, where the accident occurred. To prevent radioactive substances from leaking, the Iron Alliance used 7,000 tons of metal and 400,000 cubic meters of concrete to build a sarcophagus over the reactor core. But the sarcophagus, being made of concrete, had a limited lifespan in the face of nuclear radiation, and it was easily prone to collapse due to radiation, potentially causing a secondary leak. Therefore, Western countries collaborated to construct the new safe confinement project. Essentially, this project was like putting a cover over the existing sarcophagus, completely sealing it. This not only continued to contain the radioactive materials but also facilitated the removal and safe disposal of nuclear materials sealed under the sarcophagus. At that moment, Liu Yao had reached the outskirts of the new safe confinement project. The entire structure stood an imposing 108 meters high, 250 meters wide, and 150 meters long. It was tightly sealed, and the radiation measured on the outside was only 1 microsievert. About 4,000 workers were employed there, with the cafeteria located next to the new safe confinement. However, this also made it easier for Liu Yao to sneak in. With his current abilities, he moves so fast that ordinary human dynamic vision couldn't even catch him. Entering the spirit refining state, Liu Yao locked in on the workers' line of sight and effortlessly blended in with them to infiltrate the inside of the new safe confinement. Inside, several remote-controlled cranes were at work dismantling the crumbling sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was in disrepair, cracked in multiple places, and still extremely radioactive on the inside. Liu Yao's target was this place, and he immediately entered through a 2-meter-long, 1-meter-wide crack in the wall. The moment he entered, the radiation detector went berserk with alarms, and a red indicator light started flashing. The reading: 10,000 microsieverts. That's equivalent to the radiation from getting a CT scan. In such an environment, Liu Yao felt as if he had drunk a can of ice-cold cola, completely invigorated. He instantly practiced the 2 divine skills for experiments, and 1 cycle took only 10 minutes. My efficiency has increased by 30%. Liu Yao's spirits lifted. A 30% improvement might sound modest, but its effect on the speed of bodily cultivation was more than triple. And this was just the beginning, it was certain to get even better further in. He continued to move forward, now in the midst of the ruins of Reactor 4's machine room. The way was strewn with rusty pipes and parts, a melange of dark brown rust and peeling paint, with the floor a dirty, chaotic mess. There were also many dust-covered wires twisted and stretched out in all directions, and ice stalactites mudded with filth hanging from the pipes above. The radiation detector screamed its heart-wrenching alarm, but Liu Yao ignored it. A body in the blood exchange realm could self-heal even cancer, the present radiation was nothing in comparison. Following the path all the way, he passed through a warped gate and arrived at the basement of the machine room. On the floor lay a large pool of strange substance that looked as though something had cooled and solidified. This is, the reactor core melted and has solidified once more. The nuclear power station's reactor 4 had overheated, melting its uranium fuel core, with the resulting steam destroying the reactor. Heat, steam, and molten nuclear fuel combined, ejecting 100 tons of scorching chemical substance like lava. After solidification, it had turned into what was now known as elephant's foot. Here, the radiation detector displayed an infinity symbol, indicating that the radiation level had exceeded the measurement capabilities of this civilian device. Not only was the alarm sounding agonizingly, but the screen was also riddled with white noise due to the high concentration of radiation. Awesome! Liu Yao became instantly exhilarated. It felt as if he had entered an air-conditioned room and downed 10 cans of ice-cold Red Bull, his body abnormally pumped. With his experiment of cultivating 2 divine skills simultaneously, a single cycle now took only 5 minutes. Liu Yao made up his mind instantly, this is the spot. Now, the radiation in Chernobyl, including this sarcophagus, wasn't at an intolerable level. After all, the chain reaction had stopped long ago, and neutron radiation was no longer present. Plus, over 30 years had passed, and most of the radioactive isotopes that were going to decay had already done so. This elephant's foot was now a rare treasure spot. Thinking of his senior sister's fair and tender body, Liu Yao's entire being was filled with SP energy, and he began his cultivation practice immediately. In the high radiation environment, every organ and cell in his body rejoiced, and his blood and inner breath circulated actively without any conscious effort. Liu Yao was like sitting on a rocket, simply needing to control the direction while enjoying the sensation of rapid cultivation. In the days that followed, he focused solely on diligent practice, taking short naps when tired and stealthily gorging in the workers' canteen kitchen when hungry. A dining hall designed for 4,000 didn't miss Liu Yao's single serving. Even though his appetite was substantially larger, one of him equaled 15 others. His appetite wasn't always this big, it was just that the effects of cultivation were so beneficial that he needed more energy. Dragon Elephant Skill and Dragon Roar Golden Bell Shield, even if one practiced just one of them, the fastest a normal person could complete a cycle was half an hour. But Liu Yao could cultivate both in just 5 minutes, what a difference this was. This gap had produced an effect of qualitative change, and Liu Yao was confident that he could reach the 40-teeth phase within a month. Yet during this period, he also encountered something interesting. The star key was charging itself. While Liu Yao practiced, he would also infuse mind force into the star key for charging daily. He had to pick up a shipment from the tank factory in 2 days and needed to store up more energy. But after the past week, he noticed that the star key's charging speed was obviously faster. It should have been at 58% after a week from arriving at 51%, but it was already at 60%, an additional 2%. Liu Yao immediately realized it wasn't just his body reaping the benefits. The star key was also absorbing the energy from the radiation. Chapter 312. The more powerful nuclear power plant. In a highly concentrated radiation environment, not only did the speed of cultivating Dragon Elephant Pruchna skill and Dragon Roar Golden Bell Shield become faster, but Liu Yao's entire body also became extremely excited, with each cell brimming with energy, inducing life to undergo beneficial mutations. The combination of both resulted in a qualitative change, and the cultivation speed was much faster than Liu Yao had anticipated. When the 15th day arrived, a hint of golden light could fleetingly be seen on Liu Yao's face, as he achieved great success with the Dragon Roar Golden Bell Shield. During practice, it was as if his body were protected by a copper bell, essentially gaining an inch-thick steel plate for protection, possessing an incredible ability to resist impacts. As for the Dragon Elephant Pruchna skill, it has 10 levels. This time he went directly from the 3rd to the 5th level, gaining an additional 3,000 pounds of strength compared to a normal blood exchange, giving him a significant advantage in direct combat. However, what Liu Yao valued the most was the substantial enhancement both techniques provided to his physique. 5 days later, Liu Yao had replaced all his teeth, officially entering the 40-teeth phase. Using the front camera of his phone, his teeth were as white and glossy as pearls, all of the same size, neatly arranged together. He could be the spokesperson for a top-tier toothpaste brand with no problem at all. If he opened his mouth wide, one could see a total of 40 teeth. At this moment, Liu Yao's blood exchange realm had reached great perfection. If you cut open the skin and let the blood drip, you would find it thick and shiny like mercury, rich with incredible vitality and energy, truly blood like mercury. Having achieved his greatest goal, it was time for him to leave, and he had to leave. There were no more white noise dots from radiation on his phone. The radiation waves emitted by the large elephant leg were getting weaker and weaker, not as vigorous as at the beginning. He took out an instrument to measure it. The reading was only 1000 microsieverts, just the level of a hospital's radiation therapy room. Liu Yao himself, with the help of Star Key, had depleted the radioactive materials emitting radiation. He had no attachment, standing up and leaving the place directly. A place where the nuclear reaction has long stopped has such miraculous effects. Blue Star still has an accident nuclear power station where a reactor is constantly burning. What kind of gain could that provide me? He was more cautious when leaving, as there were many more cameras here. Many workers whispered about a giant mutated rat that kept stealing food from the kitchen. Liu Yao felt perfectly entitled to what he ate, having cleared much of the harmful substances from the stone coffin. Having a bit of food wasn't too much, was it? His figure turned into a black shadow in a flash, and he left the nuclear power station with a few leaps and bounds. After the 40-teeth phase, his physical condition had increased dramatically, especially since Liu Yao cultivated 2 divine skills. He only lacked true qi compared to a regular innate realm. Anxious to get things done and return to the other world, Liu Yao exerted his full strength and ran freely, reaching a speed of 170 km per hour. By the time he arrived at the tank factory, it was 2 hours later, and he exhaled a stream of hot steam to cool down, melting the ice and snow on the ground. Upon seeing each other, Alexander was concerned about the balance payment and rushed over somewhat excitedly, saying, "Liu, why have you been gone for so long? I thought you no longer wanted it." "Ha, sorry to have worried you. But rest assured, here I am," Liu Yao responded. The two proceeded to the factory to inspect the goods, with the machines inside still working day and night on AK rifles and 7.62 bullets. Many workers toiled continuously, inspecting the firearms and bullets and packing them into boxes. Trucks were parked outside, ready to be loaded and taken away once full. Liu Yao casually remarked, "Working around the clock, business is booming, hey." Alexander gave a wry smile and said, "Barely making ends meet." Liu Yao became interested, isn't the arms trade hugely profitable? It is profitable, Alexander nodded, but I have to hand over most of the income to my superiors. Got it, Liu Yao understood instantly. This person was able to conduct business with impunity here, there must be officials protecting him. The two of them chatted as they arrived at the warehouse, only to see a large pile of items already waiting: tanks, mechas, machine guns, and 155 howitzers. No need to introduce stuff like tanks, you already know about them, Alexander said, pointing at the long and thick cannon. This is the 155mm howitzer produced by Northern Xia Country Industry. Accurate and immensely powerful, it can blast a hole 2 meters deep and 6 meters in diameter in the ground. Liu Yao inspected everything and was very satisfied. These items, supposedly scrapped from the Eastern Front line, were all brand new. Without a word, he immediately paid off the balance owed, which totaled $10 million. In the end, arms dealing is still immensely profitable. Liu Yao drove a tank, leading as the vanguard, with the trailer full of stuff covered by a tarpaulin, leaving the factory. Alexander waved goodbye with reluctance until this major client disappeared from his sight. Returning to his office, he indulged in a nice drink, making sure to prepare the tribute money to be sent over immediately by a trusted aide. Meanwhile, Liu Yao once again arrived at the snowy cedar forest. Besides enjoying the scenery, the wide plains of the Yukolun territory made it hard to find a suitable hidden spot, and this place was just right. Climbing out of the tank, he began putting these items into the space-time bubble. A green, whirlpool-shaped mirror appeared, with the tank slowly sinking into it, disappearing after a while like an insect stuck in glue. The 50-ton tank consumed 20% of Star Key's energy. The same amount would be expended to retrieve it. Next, Liu Yao loaded the rest of the items. The 8-ton 155 howitzer plus cannonballs used up 6%, battle armor took 2%, and the fire god cannon only 1%. The energy consumption of these items was not proportional at all. Liu Yao mused, it seems that in addition to weight, volume and mass also matter. However, the energy of the Star Key was ample for use, even with everything stored there would still be 40% left. Jin Garden Warehouse. It was deep into the night when Liu Yao walked out the door, the courtyard empty of people. Li Pei, hearing the noise, came out with a smile, my lord has returned. You were gone for quite a few days this time. Liu Yao walked over and wrapped his arms around her waist, asking, yet? Did anything happen while I was away? Li Pei thought for a moment and replied, well, there is one thing. Remember the silver we donated a few days ago? The person in charge of the donations in Yunzhou is actually the eldest son of Zhou Gong. He sent over a visiting card wanting to express his thanks 3 days ago, but since you weren't here, I didn't agree to meet. The son of Zhou Gong? Then we should meet him, Liu Yao replied, his hands starting to wander after having been restrained for several days. Then I shall reply to them first thing in the morning, she said. Feeling his hands getting warmer, Li Pei immediately went back to the room with her lord. A short parting was like a second honeymoon, and Li Pei was very enthusiastic. But as the little clove tongue ventured forth, she suddenly felt that something was off with her lord's teeth. She abruptly opened her eyes, reached out to pry open Liu Yao's mouth for a look, and exclaimed in surprise, you developed the 40 teeth phenomenon. Liu Yao chuckled, lifting the girl up high for a clearer view. Li Pei's face flushed, and she covered her mouth, both shocked and delighted, it really is the 40 teeth phenomenon. How did you manage this so quickly? I discovered something powerful. I'll let you all try it someday. Liu Yao made a solemn promise. Next time, it would be to a bigger nuclear power station. Chapter 313. Fundraising Combo. The next morning, the whole family gathered for breakfast. Sua Arya was the one who cooked now, as the young girl had taken over all the household chores of the entire garden after her organ refining. For breakfast, a whole sheep was stewed, the soup delicious and rich without a hint of gaminess. Her cooking skills were pretty impressive. During the meal, Liu Yao kept flashing his teeth at Liao Ye, showing off his new chompers. But the family had been together for a long time, and Liao Ye, oblivious in the familiar setting, didn't notice the change in her junior brother's teeth, focusing only on devouring her meal. Cough, cough, Liu Yao couldn't resist any longer and straightforwardly asked, Senior sister, how is your mind cleansing going? Progressing normally, replied Liao Ye, eating quickly and still unaware of the severity of the situation. It was finally Liao Qi who noticed her beloved's difference, exclaiming, "Your teeth, they're a set of 40. Liu Yao smiled modestly, his pearly whites reflecting a sliver of light. Liao Ye, shocked, dropped the lamb chop from her hands and, along with her sister, crowded around Liu Yao's mouth for a closer look, even prying it open for inspection. Such beautiful teeth, like pearls. Grandmaster Yu has teeth like these, so pretty. The two girls continued to compliment as they reached out to touch them. Liao Ya asked, "Are you about to advance to the innate realm soon?" "No, this kind of thing must not be rushed, remember not to expect miracles from brute force," Liu Yao said. "I'll stabilize my realm for a few days first." At this moment, Li Pei suddenly interjected, "After breakfast, I'll send a telegraph to Master asking for her help in guarding. But it's already the end of March, the army must have already set out, and the message might not be received in time." "No worries, there's no hurry," Liu Yao seemed indifferent, confident in his own ability to break through the mirror. Liao Ya bit her lip, somewhat panicked. She had just touched him with her own hands and was very sure of her junior brother's robust physique and the assistance of the spirit refinement realm. As soon as Grandmaster Yu arrived, reaching the innate realm would be a matter of course. By then, as per the agreement, she would have to come clean with her sister. That she wanted to be with her junior brother. Thinking of this, she glanced at Liao Qi who was still blissfully ignorant and felt a surge of embarrassment. And just at that moment, Liu Yao cheekily transmitted via mind sound transmission, "Senior sister, I'm going to use these white teeth to bite the softest part of you." Liao Ya's face flushed bright red, and she hurriedly lowered her head in embarrassment. After making his inappropriate comment, Liu Yao sternly said, "After eating, I'll help both of you check on your mind cleansing process." "You're going to help us?" Liao Ya was a bit surprised. With her junior brother's gluttonous ways, why would he still want to help her? Wasn't he afraid she might advance before him? Liu Yao, as if it were a matter of course, replied, "For such a major event, of course I must help." Liao Ya muttered to herself, "At least you have a conscience." After the meal, the three of them returned to their rooms to prepare for inner vision of their brains. Liao Ya deliberately lagged behind, letting her sister go first. Liu Yao extended his mind force, helped Liao Qi with her inner vision, and commended her, "Not bad, no problems at all. Take it slow, don't rush, and you will succeed by following the steps." The young girl had a solid foundation, was lacking in nothing, and had a husband in the blood exchange realm for guidance. Advancing to the blood exchange mirror was just a matter of time. Liu Yao intentionally praised her now also as a form of encouragement. The mental state is very important for mind cleansing. Liao Qi, buoyed by the praise, now overflowed with confidence, "I'm going to achieve blood exchange before my sister, and shame her." Liao Ya reached out as if to hit her, but Liao Qi, laughing happily, dodged and ran back to her room to continue cultivating. Stay tuned to Empire. Then it was Liao Ya's turn for Liu Yao's inner vision. Again, there were no issues, the sisters both had strong foundations and lacked nothing, both exceptionally talented. The blood exchange was but a small checkpoint, certainly not an insurmountable chasm. Now Liu Yao was completely relieved, he took a deep breath and his face showed a trace of satisfaction. But in the next second his expression twisted, "Hiss, pain, pain, pain." Turns out Liao Ya took the opportunity of their privacy to pinch and twist the soft flesh of her junior brother's waist as retribution for his earlier vulgarities. Liu Yao could have easily broken free, but he let his senior sister vent her frustration on him. After pinching a few times, Liao Ya said in a muffled voice, "Don't be so smug, I might not lose to you." Having spoken, he also flipped his braid and ran off. 3 hours later, around 9 o'clock, Li Pei, who had gone out to send a telegram, returned. Liu Yao's mind stirred, and he arrived at the gate to welcome him in advance. Indeed, Li Pei was not alone, he was accompanied by 2 guests. The man at the forefront was about 30 years old, with a square face that bore some resemblance to Zhou's. He was clearly a very upright person. Upon seeing Liu Yao come out, he hurriedly stepped forward to greet him, "If I am not mistaken, this must be young Master Liu. I have long admired you. I am Zhou Xiaoyi, and I have come specifically to thank you for your generous assistance." Liu Yao returned the gesture, it was a trivial effort, not worth mentioning. Zhou Xiaoyi then introduced the person beside him, "This here is Mr. Hu, a close friend of my father. I am Hu Guangyang. I have long admired the great name of young Master Lu. Seeing you today, indeed, your reputation is well deserved. Hu Guangyang had high cheekbones and slender eyes, the look of someone well versed in scheming. He was a wealthy merchant backed by Zhou, who came to Yunzhou specifically to mediate between banks and wealthy merchants, discussing profits. As for Zhou Xiaoyi, he was the one handling the social interactions, relying on his father's reputation to make generous donations. The two of them could be described as a fundraising team especially put together for Yunzhou. At first they just thought that civilian donations in Yunzhou were quite substantial. According to the custom, Zhou Xiaoyi had to personally come forward to thank on behalf of his father. But when preparing to respond to the donor list, they found something amiss. Yu Yanmei, Lu Yao, Liao Ye, Liao Qi, Li Pei, Sua Area, Ji Xiang, Ru Yi, Ping'an, Lu's textile factory. Those who donated 1,000 taels were all from the same family. In other words, the young Master Lu before them had donated a total of 10,000 taels of silver. This was no small amount, and what's more, it was given in separate contributions, clearly meant to be discreet and unostentatious, displaying utmost cultivation. After Lu Yao made the donation, he didn't show his face either, obviously having no ulterior motives, simply giving for the sake of giving. That's why Zhou Xiaoyi and Hu Guangyang had come together to express their thanks. Zhou Xiaoyi exclaimed, "The war consumes silver like flowing water, and my father was truly in a difficult position, otherwise, he would not have called for civilian donations. Young Master Lu has truly been a huge help, please accept my deepest bow." With those words, he bent over to bow deeply, and Lu Yao hurried to hold him up. But Zhou Xiaoyi insisted on this gesture, even saying, "The first few names on the list all belong to the household of young Master Lu. According to etiquette, I must thank each of them personally. Are they available?" Lu Yao replied with a smile, "Truly, there is no need for this." Yet Zhou Xiaoyi was resolute and earnestly clasped his fists, "As a benefactor who has generously contributed to our nation's cause, I must thank them on behalf of my father. Please, young Master Lu, grant me this favor." Lu Yao could only helplessly call out the young ladies. Zhou Xiaoyi solemnly saluted and thanked each of them, and they all politely returned the courtesy. After looking through the list, Zhou Xiaoyi asked, "Are Ji Xiang, Ru Yi and Ping'an also here?" Seeing how earnest and insistent the man was, wishing to thank everyone in turn, Lu Yao had no choice but to whistle. 3 spiritual sparrowhawks swooped down like lightning, their large eyes curiously looking on. These are Ji Xiang, Ru Yi, Ping An. Zhou Xiaoyi paused, surprised, sparrowhawks at the peak of the marrow cleansing realm, and there are 3 of them. But for someone who could donate 10,000 taels of silver, keeping 3 spiritual sparrowhawks seemed not such a big deal after all. He came back to his senses and solemnly bowed to thank the sparrowhawks. The spiritual sparrowhawks squawked and flapped their wings as if they found it quite entertaining. After expressing their gratitude, the 2 men exchanged a few pleasantries and left. Hu Guangyang seemed very inclined to chat more with Lu Yao, but unfortunately, Zhou Xiaoyi insisted on personally thanking everyone on the list, and they were short on time. Hu Guangyang had no choice but to leave with great regret, thinking in his heart what a pity it was, this person only knew to focus on his cultivation, indeed, getting to meet him was not easy. Chapter 314 Rakshasa sends troops. In the following days, Lu Yao spent 7 days consolidating his realm and simultaneously preparing for the upcoming breakthrough. However, Yu Yanmei was nowhere to be seen during this period and did not respond to any messages, seemingly not having received the telegram. It was not her fault. Under normal circumstances, Lu Yao wouldn't have been able to consider breaking through until at least half a year later. By then, a goodbye would have definitely been shattered by the leftists. Yu Yanmei could naturally return at her leisure, peacefully watching over and aiding her son-in-law's breakthrough. But no one expected that Lu Yao would break through the 40-teeth phase so quickly. Nevertheless, there was no need to worry, he was confident he could break through on his own. The spirit refinement realm was enough to clear any obstacles. Advancing to the innate realm, in essence, meant opening the governor and conception vessels, connecting the bridge between heaven and earth. To do this, one must first reach the 40-teeth phase like Lu Yao now, achieving great perfection in the blood exchange realm. Only then would one have thick and vigorous blood energy, with inner breath nearing substantiality. Next, it was necessary to lead this incredibly vigorous inner breath, which was about to become tangible, through the body's governor and conception vessels. The governor and conception vessels govern the body's yin essence and yang qi, respectively, already playing a vital role. Once this bridge between heaven and earth was open, under the stimulation of inner breath, the martial artist's body would undergo another violent, positive transformation. Find your next adventure on Empire. Not only would the entire body become like refined steel, but the inner breath would transform into true qi, possessing all kinds of incredible wonders, and the combat strength would skyrocket. Liu Yao immediately began trying to advance to the innate realm according to the records of the Liao family fist about the innate realm and the teachings of Yu Yan Miai. The governor and conception vessels both start from the Huiyan point. The conception vessel runs up from the belly button to the lips, the governor vessel goes along the middle of the back over the head and also ends at the mouth. This perfectly forms a large cycle. Moreover, the conception vessel includes 24 aperture points and the governor vessel has 29. To connect the bridge between heaven and earth, one had to open all of these points, which was not only complicated but also dangerous. The Tenzong is a vital point in the conception vessel, and the governor vessel even passes through the spine and brain. A moment's carelessness during the breakthrough could mean death. Following the key points of the breakthrough, Liu Yao carefully started with the conception vessel. This was the sea of yin vessels. If anything went wrong, at worst, he would be impotent for a few months, not a big issue. After swallowing 2 complete immortal pills, Liu Yao began. What required extreme caution for an ordinary martial artist was a walk in the park for Liu Yao. With the empowerment of the spirit refinement realm, even the most surging inner breath was under his command. One could see the inner breath skillfully stimulating the Huiyan, Chu bone, and Zongji aperture points, continuously and cleverly. The body's original aperture points and meridians were too fragile, this step was to slowly strengthen them with innate true qi, making them suitable for use. If one's spirit refinement realm was not sufficient, this step could result in miscalculated force, either injuring the small aperture points with excessive strength or not feeling anything with insufficient force. Liu Yao did it just right, comfortably using his inner breath to pierce through the 3 small aperture points. The sensation, very satisfying. No wonder martial artists seclude themselves in the mountains for decades. With such satisfaction, who needs women? What he had to do next was to use inner breath in the same way to stimulate and strengthen all 53 aperture points of the governor and conception vessels and to pierce through them with thick and robust inner breath. Calculating it, he could open about 2 a day, ensuring success within a month. As for the governor vessel, which was the hardest part for outsiders, Liu Yao didn't feel any difficulty. Apart from the assistance of the spirit refinement realm, his 3 sisters had also frequently helped him apply Art of the Dragon Slayer manual, so the aperture points in his spine and head were already well developed. Liu Yao was greatly revived in spirit, busying himself with full confidence. After 3 days and nights of relentless cultivation, he had managed to open the lower cavity acupuncture point below the navel. Liu Yao stretched his arms in a lazy yawn, planning to eat something and take a short nap before resuming his efforts. Practitioners at the blood exchange realm could go without sleep or food for 5 days, but to ensure optimal condition, keeping it to 3 days was more suitable. Even during his rest, Liu Yao was busy, taking out the star key to charge it. The continuous pouring of mind force during the process was also a form of cultivation. Just as he arrived at the dining hall to eat, cheers came from the yard. Upon focusing his spirit, he realized it was Liaoya making significant progress. At that moment, her cheeks were flushed with rosy color, and clutching her small fists confidently, she said, "I'm confident I can break through within 10 days." Liao Qi and Li Pei cheered her on. "Sister, keep it up. I'm close too. Liao family's younger sister will surely have no problem." The Liao family sisters, already exceptionally gifted, viewed the blood exchange realm as nothing more than a minor challenge. Liu Yao's expression changed. "Do I need to resort to cheating again? But Chernobyl is not much of a help anymore. After all, the reactor at Chernobyl had long stopped its chain reactions. Moreover, more than 30 years had passed, and the various radioactive isotopes that were going to decay had nearly all dissipated. The effects were not significant, offering no immediate improvement to the current Liu Yao. Then I can only go to." While he was considering his options, Li Pei approached with a smile. "My lord, you seem to be at a loss." Liu Yao replied with a sullen face, "You seem very happy about it." Of course Li Pei was honest, "Although I don't mind you having multiple wives, having one less is certainly better." Hearing this, Liu Yao fiercely performed the capturing dragon claw hand as a lesson, tickling Li Pei into uncontrollable laughter, attracting the attention of the Liao family sisters in the distance. At that moment, Sua Arya came running over with a newspaper, shouting, "Uncle Master, there's a change in the western frontier war situation, the Rakshasa have sent troops." Everyone hurried over to look, and the newspaper stated, taking advantage of the chaotic situation in the western frontier, the Rakshasa dispatched troops to station in Ili and seized Ningyuan city. The commander of the forces was no ordinary person. Alexei Kuropatkin, a duke-level blood lineage member of the Rakshasa's army ministry, albeit without the title of a duke. He urgently needed to prove himself in the war to earn his title. Li Pei frowned with worry. It seems that master won't be able to return anytime soon. With a goodbye defeated, the Rakshasa could no longer sit still. The situation in the western frontier has become much more complicated. Liao Ya quickly consoled her, left protector's martial prowess is unrivaled, and Grandmaster Yu is also no pushover, they will surely attain a great victory and return in triumph. Liao Qi also echoed, exactly, Sister Li, we should wait for the good news without adding to our worries. Li Pei forced a smile but said nothing. She knew more, and thus worried more. The Rakshasa's move was clearly an attempt to drain the Shun dynasty and recover their vitality lost during the Great War among the potentates. This action was just the beginning, a move to seize a bridgehead for their invasion into the western frontier. The deployment of a Duke-level force made it clear they had serious intentions, the matter would not end so simply. At that moment, Li Pei felt a warm hand on her shoulder, and she nestled comfortably into her lord's embrace. Liu Yao wrapped his arm around the girl, comforting her, "Don't worry, I've got this." A short phrase was enough for Li Pei to sigh with relief and feel more at ease. She knew her lord was not a man of empty promises. Afterward, Liu Yao said, "I'll be away for a few days, and by the time I return, I'll probably have reached the innate realm. Even if something does happen, I can certainly turn the tide." Having said that, he deliberately took his 3 spiritual sparrowhawks to the sky and opened a door to leave. Chapter 315. Arrive at the nuclear power station. Blue Star, Yukolun. Amidst the snow-covered pine forest, a green light gate appeared, and subsequently 1 person and 3 birds emerged. Over the past few months, the 3 spiritual sparrowhawks had grown once more, reaching a length of 1.9 meters with a wingspan exceeding 4 meters. Now, if they stood upright, they would be taller than Liu Yao. Moreover, their feathers, sharp beaks, and talons reflected a metallic luster under the sunlight. In the icy and snowy environment, they were clearly excited. Looking around cheerfully, they could hardly wait to soar into the sky. Liu Yao took out the wingsuit flight suit and put it on. He had specifically brought back the spiritual sparrowhawks to make haste on his journey. To head for the Futaba nuclear power station in He Kingdom. This was a magical nuclear power station that still operated its reactor core, even after a level 7 accident had occurred. Also, there was a Star Alliance country Air Force base nearby, where he could get his hands on a few more aircraft to play with. All plans were already in place. Liu Yao stretched out his arms, and Ji Xiang and Ru Yi immediately grasped onto him, flapping their wings and lifting off, their strong gusts sweeping countless snow from the ground. The spiritual sparrowhawks let out high-pitched cries, adjusting their form to ascend at optimal rate of climb speed, and within less than 5 minutes, they reached an altitude of 10,000 meters, flapping their wings toward their destination. As their size increased, so did their strength. Even while carrying Liu Yao, they could fly at a speed of 400 km per hour. When catching the updrafts and following winds, they could go even faster, reaching speeds of 450 km per hour. By that calculation, your diving speed must be over 800 km per hour now. The 3 spiritual sparrowhawks had consumed a vast amount of resources and energy, but the investment was worth it. They had now become indispensable members who would play an even greater role in the future. 1 man and 3 birds sped towards their destination, only stopping for a while when passing the ice city in the northern Xia country. Liu Yao entered the city and emptied a supermarket, placing everything into the space-time bubble. The energy of the star key was nearly exhausted, with only 5% left. However, Liu Yao wasn't concerned, since the nuclear power station he was heading to was still undergoing a chain reaction capable of powerful and fast charging. He could afford the consumption. After making the necessary preparations, they set off again, and 3 hours later, they finally arrived at their destination. The Futaba nuclear power station in He Kingdom. Similar to Chernobyl, there had been a severe nuclear leak here. The surrounding area had long been deserted, resembling a ghost town. Liu Yao landed in advance and ordered the spiritual sparrowhawks to stay away from the area. Explore hidden tales at Empire. It was uncertain whether a body before the blood exchange realm could resist radiation contamination. Although the marrow cleansing had made him quite formidable, it was better to play it safe and avoid unnecessary risks. Before coming, Liu Yao had gathered a massive amount of information about the Futaba nuclear power station from the internet. The more he read, the more astonished he became. It was hard to imagine that such absurd things were still happening in society today. Nuclear accidents are categorized into 7 levels, with level 7 being a major accident, indicating that nuclear contamination has completely leaked and will adversely affect more than one country. So far on Blue Star, there had been 2 such incidents, one at Chernobyl, and the other right here at the Futaba nuclear power station. When the Chernobyl accident occurred, the Iron Alliance mobilized hundreds of thousands of people who bravely and tirelessly built a sarcophagus, efficiently shielding the deadly radiation. To this day, the scars are gradually healing. However, the Futaba nuclear power station is a rarity in the world. Normally, nuclear power plant personnel are supposed to be professionals in related fields. Yet, Futaba nuclear power station was staffed by a bunch of labor dispatch workers, subcontracted at least 4 times over. Some even got their pay from labor companies on a daily basis, giving you an idea of their professional qualifications. Moreover, under the pressure from the Star Alliance, the power station purchased the Mark I reactor model, which was poorly designed and highly prone to explosions. With such a combination of risk factors, an accident was inevitable. A tsunami triggered by an earthquake caused the reactor's cooling system to fail, and the intense heat increased the pressure inside the safety shell to over 600 kilopascals, twice the design limit for safety. The temporary workers on site were completely at a loss, and all ran away on the spot. At that time, the accident was only at level 5. If only a suicide squad could be organized. There was no need for tens of thousands like the Iron Alliance, just a few would suffice to rush in to release pressure from the exhaust valves, and maybe there would have been hope. Thus, the power company hired gangs to kidnap a group of bankrupt individuals who owed high-interest debts, and sent them in wearing protective suits. After a series of reckless operations, the 3 Mark I units, plagued with design flaws, predictably exploded one after another. Meanwhile, the government of He Kingdom was too busy shifting blame and caught up in party strife. Thus, what was originally a controllable level 5 nuclear leak turned into a disaster worsening the entire Pacific Ocean. To this day, the fission reactions in the 3 reactor cores have not stopped. With their intense heat, they continue to melt the soil beneath them, making their way toward the Earth's core. If left unchecked, they will seep into the groundwater and enter Blue Star's water cycle, permanently altering the entire human DNA reservoir, posing a massive hidden danger. At this moment, Liu Yao had arrived here. Within 20 kilometers of this cursed place, it was a no-go zone with not a single hair to be found. Passing a row of huge water tanks, which were filled with nuclear wastewater with nowhere to go, the government of He Kingdom planned to discharge it directly into the ocean. Liu Yao sighed and arrived at Unit 1. There had been a hydrogen explosion here, leaving the entire unit top completely exposed. As expected, the air was filled with high levels of radiation, but Liu Yao didn't mind and went straight into the interior of the unit. The interior was covered in rubble and various broken cables. The reactor core was easy to find, everything around the core had melted due to the high temperatures during the accident, then cooled down to form a strange black-grey material, similar to the elephant's foot in the Chernobyl sarcophagus. He came to a spot resembling a pool, which was where the reactor core originally was, and where the concentration of radiation reached its peak. The bottom was filled with black-grey material formed by the cooled magma, with a hole dug out on top. Previously, He Kingdom had sent down a robot to inspect the situation. As soon as Liu Yao leaned over to look into the hole, the breath that came out from it felt refreshingly cool. That's powerful. This is a reactor core still undergoing a chain reaction. Unless the fuel was exhausted, the fission reaction of the core would not stop. If the radiation from Chernobyl felt lifeless, like boiling water, then the radiation still undergoing a fission reaction was like an ice-cold cola, thrillingly cool to the core. The radiation was potent enough, and Liu Yao didn't go down, but he started to cultivate right there. The reactor core could melt soil, indicating temperatures of at least 3000 degrees, it's better not to tempt death. He would wait until he was stronger before attempting anything further. The Empress Dowager could withstand cruise missiles, whose explosions also generate high temperatures, so it's certain that someone at the Golden Body realm wouldn't fear such heat. Laying aside his thoughts, Liu Yao focused closely on breaking through to the next realm. In the radiation density of 500 röntgens per hour, Liu Yao's body once again became excited. Just like last time, it was akin to riding a rocket, he just needed to control the direction. Aperture points were cleansed and penetrated one after another, and on that very day, Liu Yao penetrated 10. Good, finish the rest in 3 days, then head to the Star Alliance country's military base to steal an airplane. Having eaten his fill before arriving, Liu Yao concentrated on cultivating for 3 days until he finally reached the last and most difficult step of breaking through. Penetrating the bridge of heaven and earth. Chapter 316. Innate Grandmaster hijacks a plane. Advancing to the innate realm was truly a succession of difficulties and an escalation of dangers. Braving the severe risks of impotence, paralysis, or sudden death, it was with great difficulty that the 53 aperture points of the governor and conception vessels were unblocked, only to find a massive pitfall awaiting at the end. The governor and conception vessels govern the yin and yang of the human body, but both are cut off at the upper palate and the root of the tongue. To completely connect them, the tongue must press against the upper palate, acting as a bridge for the two vessels, commonly known as building the Golden Bridge. This step sounds simple, but it entails great risks when executed. It requires inner breath to be simultaneously infused into all aperture points of the governor and conception vessels, using combined force from both the upper and lower body to break through. This means the entire spine and brain are covered in it. These two places are not to be trifled with, as the slightest mistake can lead to severe consequences. For example, Ho Lin, the leader of the Linjiang gang, had an accident at this stage, applying too much force and injuring an important point in his spine which greatly reduced his lifespan. And if the force used is insufficient, breaking through the realm will fail, so one must first have a solid foundation. With a solid foundation, even if a bit more force is used, the body can withstand it. Liu Yao was not worried about this, practicing two divine skills concurrently, his physical strength was unmatched in the blood exchange realm. What followed was a test of the breaker's control over their body and inner breath. With the support of the spirit embryo breathing realm, Liu Yao was actually best at this. Finally, it all came down to the profound temperament. While building the Golden Bridge, inner breath converged in the mouth, a little bit above was the brain, and just behind it was the spine. It was akin to holding a grenade in one's mouth, where any small mistake could at best turn one into a vegetative state. Under such critical circumstances, would one panic? Would the tongue pressing against the upper palate tremble? Could one still command their inner breath as if directing one's own arm? But Liu Yao was someone who had weathered countless storms. Having even piloted an airplane through the Golden Body realm, why would he fear this situation? Continue your saga on Empire. And more importantly, he urgently needed formidable power. The innate realm was only the beginning. Liu Yao's tongue arched gently to touch the upper gums, he took a deep breath. Activate. The prepared inner breath surged in. Liu Yao's whole body convulsed, his eyes nearly bursting. At this moment, the governor and conception vessels built the Golden Bridge through the tongue, connecting perfectly and forming a circulation around the body. With this, he finally connected the governor and conception vessels, creating the bridge between heaven and earth. But it wasn't over yet. The connected governor and conception vessels created a unique circulation around the body. Liu Yao immediately injected all his inner breath into it. The massive amount of inner breath gathered, growing more and more until reaching a critical point where it materialized. Inner breath transforming into true qi. This was the innate true qi that only innate martial artists possess, a mysterious power brimming with a surging vitality. Every organ and every cell in the body was desperately craving it, wanting to claim it for their own. But the innate true qi was currently only a small thread, requiring continuous nurturing and strengthening before it could be used. At this moment, Liu Yao officially entered the innate realm, becoming a martial arts grandmaster. After advancing to the innate realm, the previously adequate radiation concentration immediately seemed insufficient. Liu Yao gave a glance at the bottomless pit beside him, knowing that sooner or later, he would still need to seek out the reactor core, but not now. According to the plan, after advancing to the innate, he should go and get the airplane, preparing in advance for the matters of the other world. Divine sense perception subtly conveyed a foreboding sense, necessitating heavy firepower for peace of mind. And having stayed in an environment of neutron radiation, the energy in Star Key had unprecedentedly charged to 100%. Next is to choose an Air Force base and take a few planes as a celebration of my successful advancement. These days, the locations of military bases can be easily found online, with satellite overhead images available for reference. Liu Yao naturally chose the largest Ryukyu base. The Ryukyu Islands have a warm and pleasant climate, with beautiful blue skies, golden sand beaches, and palm trees swaying in the sea breeze. This place is only 600 kilometers away from Xia Country, a strategic choke point and hub on the sea, and the Star Alliance's largest military base is also here. There are about 20,000 soldiers in the base, accounting for 2/3 of the garrison. Today is the weekend, and the Star Alliance soldiers are parading through the streets with girls on each arm, the air filled with the stench of alcohol. But at this moment, above Kadena Air Base, a shadow is falling vertically, and it's Liu Yao with his hands and feet together. Just as he is about to hit the ground, he suddenly spreads his limbs, and the wings of his wingsuit flight suit open. Using the support of the air currents to cushion his fall, Liu Yao skids along the ground on his feet, carving out a 5-meter-long trench to stop himself. Such impact would have killed a normal person, but for him, it was nothing. With the help of the spiritual Sparrowhawk, he arrived directly at the tarmac, where various models of aircraft filled his view. Liu Yao nodded in satisfaction, not bad, just like shopping at a supermarket. Strolling leisurely through the wide tarmac, Liu Yao's target was clear. He wanted those with powerful ground attack capabilities, the kind that can clean sweep the area. As he walked along, he soon spotted his target, "Oh Super Hornet, nice." He came to a hangar, inside which a Super Hornet stood, its body bristling with weapons including white phosphorus rocket launchers, missiles for various purposes, and a GBU-37 laser-guided bunker buster. There was nobody in the hangar, clearly, everyone had gone out to enjoy their weekend. Liu Yao didn't hold back, immediately opening the space-time bubble to collect the fighter jet. He also took all the spare ammunition that was nearby. The hangar became empty, energy consumption, 30%. That consumes a lot. The energy of Star Key couldn't be completely used up, he had to save some for emergencies, so he could choose only one more aircraft. Mulling over his options, he passed by another large hangar, inside which 7 or 8 soldiers were casually playing cards and chatting, each holding a bottle of beer, occasionally gesturing lewdly. Liu Yao kept walking straight past them without stopping, strutting arrogantly. The soldiers thought an officer had come and hurriedly stood at attention. But they looked puzzled, they couldn't remember who this was. Not until Liu Yao had walked a good distance away did they whisper to each other, confirming there was no such person on the base, especially not an Asian. They immediately gave chase, shouting, "Who the fuck are you?" But to their astonishment, they saw the Asian man eyeing an AC-130 gunship with interest, then he even opened the hatch and walked in. The group of Star Alliance soldiers was utterly shocked, chasing after him and cursing. "Damn it, what are you doing? Stop right there! Or I'll kill you! Wait a minute, doesn't this guy look familiar?" And at this moment, someone finally recognized Liu Yao, whom they had seen somewhere before. To them, all Asians looked the same, so they hadn't recognized him at first, until they took out their phones to search. "Oh God! That's the terrorist Liu Yao! It's really him! The terrorist who attacked Black Mountain Air Force Base! Stop him! He's going to steal the AC-130! They yelled in panic, some going to notify their superiors, while the rest frantically banged on the cabin door. But Liu Yao had already locked it from the inside, laughing, "This thing is too violent, it's better if I keep it safe for you." Chapter 317. Missile incoming. AC-130 gunship is a specialized ground attack heavy aircraft with powerful firepower, nicknamed Angel of Death. It came equipped with 4 Fire God cannons, one 40mm automatic cannon, a 105mm howitzer, along with various aerial bombs and more. Carrying over a dozen tons of ammunition, it could pour down firepower from high altitude, quickly turning targets on the ground into flatland, just what Liu Yao needed. At this moment, a group of Star Alliance soldiers was furiously pounding and yelling outside the plane, some even bringing crowbars. Liu Yao was figuring out how to operate the aircraft, ignoring them completely. Fortunately, having flown an F-35B before, both planes were developed by Lockheed Company of the Star Alliance, with pretty similar operating methods. In less than 2 minutes, Liu Yao had figured it out. He switched on the battery charging, started the engines, and watched as the 4 propellers on the wings began to spin. Pushing the throttle forward, the nearly 70-ton, 30-meter-long aircraft with a wingspan of 40 meters slowly started moving and entered the runway, preparing for takeoff. Everything happened too fast. Those soldiers had just found crowbars, even thinking about getting electric saws, but the plane was already ready. The AC-130 started to accelerate. Liu Yao activated minute consciousness control, achieving a unity between man and machine, and his piloting skills were far superior to those of ace pilots. The AC-130 sped up and, upon reaching speed, suddenly pulled the stick to take to the sky. The entire process was fluid and natural, giving the unwieldy gunship a touch of swan-like grace as it soared through the air. Liu Yao then pressed the fire control button overhead, and 4 cannons extended from both sides of the aircraft, aimed at the other planes on the tarmac. He turned off the safety and pressed the fire button, unleashing a deadly downpour from above. Suddenly, numerous aircraft fuselages exploded with big gaping holes, followed by a resounding boom as they exploded violently. Giant fireballs erupted on the tarmac one after another, with debris and thick smoke billowing into the sky. "Get down! Quick, get out of the way!" The Star Alliance soldiers watched in utter horror as it all happened, hopelessly unable to do anything. Today was the weekend, and the base's response was obviously sluggish. The alarm had only just been sounded. Liu Yao circled the airfield with the gunship, blowing up all the planes to prevent them from taking off and intercepting him later. He did this also as a vent for his resentment. After all, he could not return to his Star Alliance home. He hadn't even had time to enjoy the villa and luxury cars he had bought. Afterward, the hulking form of the gunship schemed low over Rikyu City near the base, causing extreme panic. Scores of people screamed and ran in all directions, with several cars crashing into each other in the chaos. The soldiers out for a weekend of fun were scared out of their wits, forgetting about the girls, ducking into bunkers as their first move. Even from afar, one could see the flames and billowing smoke rise from the base, as people exclaimed, "God! What's happened? Listen, the alarm's going off inside the base. The base is under attack." But unlike the panic-stricken faces of the soldiers, most of the local citizens wore expressions of joy, wishing the entire base would just blow up. These Star Alliance soldiers had committed murder, arson, rape, robbery, and even trafficked opium on the base. They were despised for every imaginable wickedness, and the locals had long had enough of them. Liu Yao planned to fly toward the vast eastern sea before returning to the other world. But before he got far, the cockpit suddenly flashed with a red light, signaling, "Missile incoming." Indeed, a Patriot missile was launched from below, closing in at 3 times the speed of sound in the blink of an eye. The normal response would be to immediately deploy hot flares and then make an emergency turn and leave it to fate. But with a distance of 5 kilometers, the missile left Liu Yao with a whole 5 seconds before impact. To a practitioner of spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, 5 seconds was truly a long time. Liu Yao pulled on the stick, and the aircraft abruptly made a large turn, with 2 fire god cannons on one side opening fire. With a firing rate of 4,000 rounds per minute x2, they created a barrage, intercepting and blasting the incoming missile out of the sky like a close-in weapon system. With a thunderous roar, peace returned to the sky. This scene was completely transmitted back to the command center at the base by the missile's television guidance system. Countless officers shouted in astonishment. "Holy shit! WTF! Liu Yao's operation could theoretically be accomplished. But this was a cumbersome airborne gunship, and you couldn't see the surroundings from the cockpit. While maneuvering the plane to turn, one also had to accurately shoot down a missile approaching at nearly 4 times the speed of sound. How could a normal person possibly do that? But it happened just like that. And it wasn't over yet, someone exclaimed in alarm, "He's coming! He's coming towards us!" The place from which the missile was launched was filled with countless white buildings. This was the base's security forces. At this moment, soldiers stood on rooftops, some carrying javelin anti-air missiles, others setting up heavy machine guns, preparing to shoot down Liu Yao. A missile launcher had once again locked onto the plane, the Patriot missile it had fired moments ago. Liu Yao controlled the gunship to overhead, operating all the guns to fire simultaneously from 4 kilometers away. Amid the deafening noise like jackhammers drilling through walls, a firing rate of 4,000 rounds per minute x4 created a sweeping storm of death, culminating in the utmost euphoria. In an instant, all the buildings were riddled with countless large holes, pierced on the spot. Even if the cannonballs didn't hit the people inside, the scattered dirt, rock, and furniture debris turned into shotgun pellets, blasting numerous individuals full of bloody holes. In the blink of an eye, these buildings were reduced to ruins, and the missile launch vehicle was given special attention, blasted into a fiery sphere with several huge flaming tires rolling far away. Despite the distance, not a single one of Liu Yao's cannonballs was wasted, perfectly poured upon the enemy. After completing his revenge, he pulled the control stick and flew towards the intended target. During this time, he remained vigilant for pursuers who might come from other directions, but it was the radio that first came to life. With nothing else to do, Liu Yao casually answered. "Mr. Liu, it's been a while. This is Colonel Reynolds." The man spoke standard summer language, but his speech was staccato, like a voice reading software. Liu Yao replied, "I only know an Agent Janice. Why isn't she here? Was she fired?" Colonel Reynolds adjusted his glasses with a smile. "She's right beside me. From now on, I will be in charge of matters related to you. However, the gift you've brought for our meeting isn't very friendly." He seemed not at all angered by Liu Yao's actions but excitedly said. "Mr. Liu, I studied the blood you left behind during your last attack. Though it has lost its activity, its wonders are still visible. You are a treasure waiting to be discovered. I can hardly wait to meet the vibrant you." Colonel Reynolds, a scientist working for the military's secret laboratory, had a look full of affection and anticipation, with a mist forming in his eyes. A clear sign of his perversion. Even the seasoned Agent Janice felt discomfited in secret. This man's malice came across sharply through the radio. Liu Yao, perceiving it all too clearly, calmly responded. "That day will come soon, and I hope you still have such a good mood then. For now, please excuse my departure, I've got business to attend to. Things must be done one by one. It's not that there won't be a reckoning, just that the time hasn't come yet." By now, the plane had already arrived above the vast clouds over international waters. Experience tales at Empire. Liu Yao hung up the communication, opened the door, and returned to the other world. He had been gone for less than 5 minutes when two F-22s arrived like lightning. Of course, they could not find any trace of Liu Yao despite all efforts, leaving them no choice but to return home in confusion. Chapter 318. Can you add one for me? The netizen's memory lasts only 7 days, and Liu Yao's original popularity had already dissipated. This time, he made a mighty comeback, returning like a king. The day after the incident, news spread across the entire world, and Liu Yao once again dominated the hot searches on all platforms. Domestically, the cries of support were the mainstream, as he appeared like a national hero. But abroad, especially in the Western world, their words were extraordinarily unified. They strongly condemned the terrorist attack against the Star Alliance country and called on countries around the world to unite and help capture the mastermind behind the incident, Liu Yao, and bring him to justice. The spokesperson for the Star Alliance country claimed immediately. The attack is an act of war. Although the despicable and evil actions of the terrorists have caused certain losses, their plots will not succeed, and our country remains strong. Intelligence agencies will use all means to find Liu Yao, the culprit, and bring him to justice. Anyone who dares to shelter the terrorist will also be viewed as a terrorist. Thus, Blue Star once again became chaotic, with incessant bickering online. Having been made a fool of twice, the Star Alliance country had a determination without precedent to drag Liu Yao out. Some methods beyond the regular rules of the game were also about to be employed. Within the thick clouds, the AC-130 gunship with a mere speed of 400 km per hour was easily caught up by 3 spiritual sparrowhawks. They looked curiously at their master through the glass of the cockpit. Liu Yao smiled and waved at them, ready for some mischief. Enjoy more content from Empire. The AC-130 gunship, along with the dozen tons of various ammunition on board, weighed nearly 70 tons in total. Taking off and landing required a very professional runway, which Liu Yao neither had nor wanted to fuss about. Fortunately, he had a unique way of causing mischief. Liu Yao turned off the airplane's engines, and without power, it immediately plunged downwards. But the aerodynamic design and inertia allowed it to maintain balance briefly. This brief moment was more than enough for Liu Yao. He left the cockpit and opened the hatch in midair. The depressurization inside and outside the cargo cabin created a fierce air suction, pulling everything inside the plane outwards. Fortunately, the items in a military aircraft were all secured, and for Liu Yao, this level of suction was merely like that of a second-setting electric fan. He calmly reached the outside while holding onto the fuselage, casually closed the hatch behind him. What would be the climax of an action movie, he did effortlessly, not even messing up his hair. Following that, Liu Yao put the airplane into a space-time bubble in midair. And the clever spiritual sparrowhawks had already been waiting to catch their master just right. The entire process took 5 seconds. Liu Yao nodded in satisfaction, then opened a green portal, and everyone returned to the other world together. When he needed the airplane again, Liu Yao planned to do the same mischief. Pulling out the airplane from the space-time bubble at 10,000 meters in the air, then diving in to start it. This way, there would be no need for a runway. Plan approved. Jin Garden. Liaoya was only one step away from the blood exchange realm. Her speed was so fast not only because of her excellent talent and solid foundation but also thanks to the ice jade ring. The ring invigorated the mind, and whenever one felt restless, it would produce a unique coolness that settled the mind, making it extremely suitable to assist with mind cleansing. At this moment, Liaoya needed only one small step forward to become a martial artist in the blood exchange realm. But she looked at the sunset on the horizon and voluntarily stopped her cultivation. Junior brother hasn't come back yet. I'll take it as being steady and thorough, waiting one more night. Liaoya clenched her fists with resolve, just one night's wait, and I will break through first thing tomorrow morning. If junior brother is slower than me, then it's fate. This girl was conflicted herself. After a long time together, she didn't dislike her junior brother and wanted to spend her life with him. But there was her own younger sister in the way. It was incredibly awkward. If possible, Liaoya really wished to keep things as they were, being by his side every day was quite nice, without engaging in those embarrassing matters. The next morning, Liaoya got up and found that her junior brother hadn't returned yet. Just as she sighed, about to make her breakthrough, a long howl sounded. A group of girls ran excitedly to the courtyard, and sure enough, Liu Yao had returned. At that moment, he announced energetically, "Mission accomplished, I have ascended to the innate realm." With that, he raised his hand, and a foot-long semi-transparent column of qi appeared, much like the tail flame of a jet engine, the external manifestation of innate true qi. Liao Qi was the first to throw herself into the arms of her beloved, her cheeks flushed red as she screamed, "Grand Master! You're a Grand Master now!" Ah! The girl hugged Liu Yao's neck, jumping around excitedly, her two braids flipping up and down. Li Pei also stepped forward gracefully, performing a full, courteous bow, "Congratulations to you, my lord! I am thrice fortunate to be wed to you." Although she appeared dignified and graceful, her nostrils flared and her breath grew heavy, with veins throbbing at her neck. When Li Pei was excited, she was just like this, unable to hide her joy. At this moment, the two girls were thrilled to the extreme. Honestly, Liu Yao only saw the innate realm as a beginning, a checkpoint on the path of cultivation. But in the other world, this realm was known as Grand Master. It was the lifelong dream of countless martial artists, even something several generations yearned for. A sect with an innate realm member was considered first-rate in the martial community. Historically, an innate Grand Master naturally held the privilege of not kneeling before the emperor, and the officialdom vied to court them. And it wasn't just the Shun dynasty's government, even the foreigners would bend over backward to please them. This realm was another qualitative leap in the martial path. The body would gain further strength under the refinement of the innate true qi, possessing the strength of 18,000 pounds and becoming tough and resilient like cast iron. Traditionally, spears would be completely useless, and only cannons could kill. At the same time, this level offered unbelievable protection against strong acids, strong alkalis, high temperatures, and low temperatures. If someone of the innate realm entered enemy territory without permission, it would even be seen as an act of war, illustrating their deterrent power. Liao Qi and Li Paizhen couldn't hide their joy, remaining excited for a while. Then, Liu Yao glanced at Liaoya and coughed once. His meaning was clear. "I've surpassed you by 2 major realms now." But Liaoya stood there, stunned, without reacting for a moment. Could this really be fate? At that moment, she remembered every detail since she met her junior brother. Without him, she and her sister would have fallen into the 18th level of hell long ago. So be it, I'll throw caution to the wind and steal something from my sister one more time. Liaoya made up her mind, took a step forward with her hands clasped in a fist, and said crisply and seriously, "Congratulations to junior brother for reaching innate martial artist status, ascending to the Grand Master realm." Then, she took a deep breath and said to her sister, Liao Qi, I. I. She said I 3 times but couldn't get the words out. Liao Qi was puzzled. Li Pei looked on with anticipation, squinting her eyes and standing aside with her arms crossed. Finally, Liao Ya clenched her teeth and shouted with all her might, Sister, I've taken a fancy to Liu Yao and want to be with him. Can I join you? Chapter 319. Good relations among fellow disciples. Liao Qi heard her sister's words, her almond-shaped eyes wide and round, staring at her with an extremely complex expression, and murmured softly, I knew you would snatch. Liao Ya was immediately embarrassed, clutching the hem of her clothes with nowhere to hide. Following that, Liao Qi sighed deeply, and said feelingly, the two of you flirt and quarrel every day, I'm not blind, I've noticed it long ago. I had been prepared for today's situation. Liao Ya, filled with shame, lowered her head, almost burying it in her chest. Li Pei asked with a smile, so, Liao Qi, have you agreed? Liao Qi nodded, I grew up depending on my sister, and I am extremely reluctant to part with her. Moreover, I was so used to being robbed by her since I was a child that I'll just let her rob me one more time, as if to say the nourishment doesn't flow into the fields of outsiders. Liao Ya blushed and didn't raise her head, allowing her sister to make fun of her, as long as she agreed, that was all that mattered. Li Pei could not help but snort with laughter when she heard these words. Her eyes twirled mischievously, and she smirked while covering her mouth, as an older sister snatching her younger sister's man, how shameless of you! Liao Qi, you may have agreed, but you can't let her off that easily. Liao Qi suddenly saw the light and nodded vigorously, right. I can't let you off that easily. Liao Ya glared at Li Pei, never expecting her to play dirty. But she knew why the other party was doing this. Previously, this royal lady had proposed a marriage alliance with her and was politely turned down, now, she was seeking revenge. Liao Ya took a deep breath, calming herself, and asked firmly, what do you want? Liao Qi thought for a moment, put her hands on her hips, and shouted, when we were kids, you always hit me, so this time, you need to let me spank you. Liao Ya frowned and glared, the imposing aura of an older sister emanating from her. Liao Qi flinched backward, but Li Pei supported her shoulder in solidarity, adding, not just that. According to tradition, the newcomer sister must serve tea and call us older sister. Liao Qi chimed in, exactly, it's the tradition, I'm the one in the right here. Having said that, the two women looked on with shared animosity. Listening to their demands, Liao Ya clenched her teeth. Explore more adventures at Empire. But after thinking about it, she was indeed the one who made the unreasonable request first, putting herself in the other's shoes, she wouldn't want to share her junior brother either. She took several deep breaths to stabilize her emotions and said determinedly, fine. Today, no matter what you ask for, I'll agree to it all. Liao Qi and Li Pei exchanged glances, not expecting her to agree so readily. After that, the 3 girls made their way to the main hall, sending Liu Yao out so he couldn't watch. Liao Qi and Li Pei sat on the taishi chairs, completely at ease. Liao Ya served tea and bowed gracefully, please, sisters, enjoy the tea. The 2 women took a sip each. Li Pei set down her teacup, smiling, the Liao family's younger sister is truly sensible. The tea served is especially fragrant, I have no objections now. Liao Ya finally relaxed and looked towards her own younger sister. Liao Qi declared, spank me. A hint of embarrassment crossed Liao Ya's face, but since she had already promised, there was no room to back out now, so she boldly turned around, presenting her back to her sister. She had been looking forward to this moment for who knows how many years, and now her wish was finally fulfilled. Liao Qi swung her arm in full circle and delivered a mighty slap on her older sister's buttocks with a crisp smack. Ah! Liao Ya cried out in surprise, not expecting her sister to use such force. One cheek of her buttocks was swollen, and the slap truly hurt. She rubbed her buttocks to alleviate the pain, gritting her teeth, she said, are you satisfied now? Liao Qi nodded, her face full of satisfaction, exclaiming, very satisfied, my mind feels much clearer now. Liao Ya then asked, so, can I be with my junior brother now? Liao Qi waved her hand, go ahead, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Liao Ya let out a long sigh of relief, and with that, there were no more obstacles between her and her junior brother. Li Pei held her hand, smiling, congratulations, Sister Liao. You and Liu Yao becoming sworn siblings, this brings us even closer. Liao Ya blushed and nodded. Liao Qi stood up and said, let's go, Liu Yao must be getting anxious waiting outside. Liu Yao waited patiently in the pavilion, gently stroking the smooth feathers of the spiritual sparrowhawk. He wasn't too worried. After living under the same roof for so long, this development was only natural. Sure enough, the three sisters came out after a while, their faces brimming with smiles and showing no sign of awkwardness. Standing up to greet them, Liao Qi was the first to speak. From now on, both of us sisters will serve you together, you're getting quite the deal. You'd better treat us well. Liu Yao hugged all three sisters at once, laughing, don't worry, I will definitely value you more than my own life. All you know is how to sweet-talk people. You kept staring at my sister's body, your eyes were about to pop out. I knew something was not right then. The sisters teased him one after another, thoroughly exposing Liu Yao's true nature. Liu Yao had a thick skin, thicker than the front armor of a tank, smiling unperturbedly, thinking about pulling his senior sister into the bridal room as soon as possible. After a round of laughter and teasing, everyone left separately. Back in her room, Liao Ya opened the wardrobe, which was filled with clothes Liu Yao had brought back from Blue Star. She immediately took out a white body-hugging dress and put it on. In the mirror, the girl changing clothes had an impressive figure. Just as she had finished changing, she heard her junior brother knocking on the door, tap tap tap, the sound was not loud but very urgent. As soon as the door opened, she was met with her junior brother's blazing gaze, which clearly wanted to devour her in one gulp. What's the rush for? Liao Ya of course knew what would happen next, her face flushed red, sitting shyly on the edge of the bed. She also brought her knees together toward the side opposite of Liu Yao, her body tensed up. This posture indicated that she was very nervous and insecure. Liu Yao locked the door behind him with a smile and sat next to his senior sister, praising her, you look really beautiful in white. When Liao Ya heard her junior brother compliment her, she felt sweet inside, her nervousness eased slightly, but she still felt somewhat stiff. Although the beauty before him was very tempting, Liu Yao was not in a hurry. At this moment, even without sensing in the spirit-refining state, he knew that his senior sister was so tense that her whole body was rigid, so it was necessary to relax her first. Liu Yao wrapped his arms around the slim and tight waist of the beauty, smelling her unique fragrance, reminiscing, senior sister, the first time you taught me martial arts, I resolved then and there to marry you. Today, I've finally gotten my wish. Liao Ya scolded playfully, you scoundrel junior brother, always with ulterior motives. Liu Yao gently took the girl's foot, removed her shoes and socks, and started to perform the foot comfort technique to massage her. Her feet were white, tender, and adorably plump, feeling wonderful to the touch. Liao Ya instinctively wanted to pull away, as a woman's feet should not be touched by others. But thinking that they were about to become sworn siblings, she felt a foot massage was not a big deal and restrained herself from moving. Liu Yao directly channeled innate true qi, stimulating the aperture points on his senior sister's feet. The effects of this high-level life energy far exceeded inner breath. Liao Ya immediately felt a warm current rushing from her feet to the top of her head at the Beihui point, making her whole body immersed in what felt like a warm spring, extremely comfortable. She couldn't help but close her eyes and enjoy the feeling. A few minutes later, Liao Ya was completely relaxed. Liu Yao opened his mouth to show a mouthful of white teeth and said, Senior sister, do you see my teeth? Remember what I told you last time. Chapter 320. Orchid Fragrance. At this moment, the room was filled with a unique fragrance that was refreshing to the heart and spleen. Liu Yao paid it no mind, having smelled this fragrance many times before. It was his senior sister's body scent. But this time, it was exceptionally intense. It was neither floral nor powdery, but something entirely different and exotically fragrant. After smelling it too much, Liu Yao's mind began to blur. As an innate grandmaster and a practitioner of the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, there were virtually no substances in the world that could affect him. Yet in the presence of this fragrance, he was utterly powerless, gradually sinking into it. It wasn't until his senior sister gently touched his face and called out, Junior brother, what's wrong with you? Liu Yao came to his senses and looked at her, the beauty breathtaking, and said in astonishment, Senior sister, your fragrance, it can actually bewitch the mind, even I can't resist it. Liao Ya herself did not notice, but she was very shy, covering her face and saying, I don't know either. At this moment, Liu Yao only felt an abundance of energy in his body, as if he were standing in the midst of nuclear radiation. He still did not realize that he had stumbled upon a treasure, merely saying, "It's nothing, perhaps you just have a unique body scent. I was just caught off guard for a moment." With innate true qi flooding in and his spirit refining state fully engaged, the refreshing scent in the room grew even more intoxicating to the heart and spleen and slowly seeped outside. Meanwhile, in the study, Li Pei was examining the ledgers, intelligence and various other documents handed over by Zhang Jin. After the fall of the Linjiang gang, everyone had fought tooth and nail for the vast inheritance, which had only just been divided. On behalf of Liu Yao, Zhang Jin had secured the lion's share, acquiring 3 new model heavy oil cargo ships, rights to 5 riverside docks, as well as countless lucrative street shops. Her lord was indifferent to these matters, all managed by Li Pei herself. Next, she had to translate the ancient texts found in the underground ruins using the small seal script Chinese character comparison chart brought back by her lord. It was a time-consuming and laborious task, but luckily, Li Pei was a top student, proficient in multiple foreign languages and had some research on small seal script, making her well suited for the work. Busy until noon, Liao Qi came over to call her, "Sister Li, come have lunch. There's the white phoenix stewed medicinal meal you like." Li Pei stretched languidly, "I'll be right there." On the way to the dining hall, passing by the inner residence, both women suddenly wrinkled their noses in unison. Being in a state of spirit refinement firmness, with keen senses, they smelled the enchanting fragrance in the air. Liao Qi was puzzled and said, "It seems like my sister's scent." She wasn't entirely sure, as the fragrance was too overwhelming, and a faint sense of dizziness assaulted them, almost giving them a feeling of floating to the heavens. Explore new worlds at Empire. As a scion of imperial heritage with broad knowledge, Li Pei immediately pulled Liao Qi back and reminded her, "Mobilize your inner breath and focus your spirit." Liao Qi did as instructed, her mind instantly clearing. She quickly asked, "What happened just now?" "A good thing, it turns out your sister is quite the rarity," Li Pei explained with a smile. "Some women, when emotionally aroused, emit a special body fragrance that mesmerizes others. This fragrance is harmless, and its effects are infinitely better than ambergris. It's a natural spiritual medicine. It is called orchid fragrance. Aroused fragrance. Orchid fragrance." Liao Qi, having seen many paintings and also being well informed, said, "Isn't this just like the ancient fragrant concubine?" Li Pei nodded and said, "Indeed, such women were usually presented to the emperor in ancient times. So, what shall we do next?" "Let's not eat just yet. The orchid fragrance has immense benefits, so let's stand from afar and have a whiff. Once we're used to it, we can gradually get closer." Hence, the 2 girls unabashedly eavesdropped from a corner, emitting the occasional titter of laughter. It wasn't until the next morning that Liu Yao finally emerged from the room with Liao Ya in tow. However, they hadn't expected to bump into Li Pei and Liao Qi as soon as they came out. The 2 girls looked teasingly at the sect leader's elder martial sister, their mouths clicking in disapproval. Liao Ya was extremely embarrassed and hid behind Liu Yao. Liu Yao's skin was thicker than the frontal armor of a tank. He was about to say a few polite words when he suddenly noticed that Liao Qi's vital energy was unusually robust and couldn't help exclaiming with joy, "You've undergone the blood exchange." Liao Qi smiled happily, revealing a mouth missing 2 front teeth. "Thanks to Big Sister's blessing, I achieved a breakthrough in the mind cleansing technique overnight." She had already started teething, which is a sign of entering the blood exchange realm. Liao Ya was a bit confused. "How does that have anything to do with me?" "It might actually have something to do with you." Liu Yao had been smelling it for a whole day and night, and even he couldn't fail to realize at this point. The elder martial sister's body scent had great benefits. Li Pei also stepped forward to explain in detail, adding her own understanding to what she had just told Liao Qi. The orchid fragrance is Liao Ya's unique physiological smell, which directly triggers a human brain reaction, stimulating the central nervous system, and has miraculous effects. Liao Qi chimed in, "MHM, it smells particularly relaxing, makes one's mind clear and exceptionally permeable, doubling the effectiveness of mind cleansing." After speaking, she even lay on her sister's body, sniffing from head to waist, looking absolutely intoxicated. Liao Ya shoved her mischievous younger sister away but quickly realized something and exclaimed in shock, "You two have been sniffing around here for a whole day, haven't you?" Li Pei nodded openly, "Yeah. Such a good thing shouldn't go to waste, so we just kept sniffing it. Upon hearing this, Liaoya covered her face and squatted on the ground, feeling too embarrassed to face anyone. Liao Qi added, and we'll need to keep sniffing it in the future, this is good stuff. Upon hearing this, Liaoya was overcome with shame and anger, she stood up to chase after her sister. But now that the girl had undergone a blood exchange, her constitution had dramatically improved, and Liaoya couldn't catch up. At this point, Li Pei coughed to draw everyone's attention and solemnly said, "This matter must be kept a secret. The orchid fragrance is a natural spiritual medicine, free of any medicinal poison and safe, a dream for any alchemist. If word gets out, it will definitely cause trouble, especially from the joyful sect." Li Pei paused for a moment, then continued. The sect-defining ultimate technique of the joyful sect, the Mahayana ultimate bliss heavenly demon dance, requires a woman with the orchid fragrance just like Liaoye. But since the previous holy maiden passed away, they haven't been able to find a suitable replacement. If they learn about Liaoye, they will definitely pester us relentlessly. Liaoye's expression turned cold. A bunch of fox spirits, just kill them off. Don't underestimate them, the joyful sect is not easy to deal with. Li Pei explained. The joyful sect has countless strong practitioners, and many of the female disciples serve as concubines to influential figures, capable of swaying their opinions and gathering intelligence. When the time comes, they can also call upon them as enforcers. Hearing this, the faces of the younger sisters gradually turned solemn. At that moment, Liu Yao spoke up, "Don't worry, leave everything to me. Set your minds at ease, no need to dwell on it." With the might of planes, tanks, and artillery at his side, anyone who dared to cause trouble would surely regret it.